This is Alka, a boy living in a medieval fantasy world where your level defined everything. The problem is he was stuck at level 1 for years. Even after hunting tons of monsters he gained 0 XP. He spent his whole life trying, burning through every coin he had, but his level just wouldn't go up. With no other choice, he started collecting monster scraps left behind by other hunters just to scrape together some cash. He got robbed, scammed, humiliated by everyone around him, and nobody would hire him because of his nickname, Corpse Collector. The only one who still respected the kid was an old baker who always kept a piece of bread for him. One day, deep in the goblin cave, Alka caught a nasty, weird smell and went to check it out. At the very back of the cave he finds a dead dragon, a bizarre level 200 monster. The best loot was already gone, but there was a stinky bag of organs left behind that nobody wanted to touch. When he opened the bag, he came face to face with a sick-looking armor, giving off a dark, heavy energy. Out of nowhere, the armor told him to put it on. While he was trying to figure out where the voice was coming from, a whole bunch of goblins showed up. He tried to run, but ended up surrounded and disarmed by the creatures. The goblins were level 1 too, but without a decent weapon or armor, he was going to die right there. With nowhere to run, he agreed to put on the armor. Dark magic covered the boy, and transformed him into a seriously terrifying black knight. The goblins froze in fear. The abyss armor latched onto his body, and now answered to its new master. With the magic sword that appeared in his hand, Alka took down the goblins with ease. And then something completely insane happened. The energy from the dead monsters came floating out and got absorbed into him. When the fight was over, a notification confirmed what seemed impossible. He had absorbed the enemy's levels, and jumped straight to level 6. Alka cried. For the first time in years he had finally leveled up. Once the emotion passed, he tested his equipment, and realized the armor was surprisingly light. Walking through the dead goblins, he feels a heavy presence in the dungeon behind him. And it's not what you guys are thinking. It was just a legendary goblin the size of a titan. The thing was level 35, way stronger than him. Alka tried to block the attack, but got sent flying with a single hit. Realizing he couldn't handle the monster alone, he made a smarter call. He started farming level 1 goblins, to keep leveling up and get strong enough to face the boss. He swept through the dungeon, wiping out goblin after goblin, and stealing all the XP for himself. He reached level 15, but it still wasn't enough. Along the way he found a chest full of healing potions stolen from adventurers, who had already died in there. He stored everything in the armor's inventory. Right after looting the chest, Alka hears a tiny voice in the back that scared the life out of him. It was a girl who had been kidnapped by the goblins, and was all tied up. The protagonist cuts her ropes loose. She introduces herself as Millie. Since the girl is just a kid, Alka decides to help her escape the dungeon. He kept pushing forward. In a more dangerous area, Alka hid Millie behind a rock, and went to slice through more monsters. Even against an army of goblins, his level was already way higher, so he steamrolled through everyone, cutting them all down without taking a single point of damage. After clearing the area, he finally hit level 35, the exact level needed to crush the legendary goblin. Mill gets scared, and asks if they can leave now, but Alka says not yet. With this much blood spilled, more monsters are bound to come, and among them the strongest one is definitely on its way. It's the same legendary goblin from before, and this time Alka is ready for the rematch. After killing the monster, he says he knew it would show up. The legendary goblin roars back with all its menace. Now both Alka and the monster are level 35, so he's not the same weak boy who ran before. The goblin boss attacks at full power right away. Alka fires back that if it thinks this will be easy, it's badly mistaken. Then he lands a slash across the monster's stomach, dropping it to its knees. As the underlings close in around him, he counts about 10 of them. As long as the legendary goblin is still standing, he knows he can't waste time on the minions. So he yells to the girl he saved to throw him a knife. And not knowing which one to pick, Mill just flings the whole bundle into the air. The knives rain down toward him from the holder. She apologizes over and over, but Alka tells her it's fine. With his speed, he catches 2 and handles the monsters with ease. He snatches more as they fall and starts hurling them back at the goblins. Again and again, he keeps collecting knives and throwing them. With several in hand, he says this really is bad luck, but thanks everyone who came to help their boss. Now the legendary goblin will suffer from the gap between their levels. After wiping out the smaller monsters, he rises to level 45. The goblin, partly recovered from the earlier hit, screams and attacks, but it shouldn't be able to hurt him anymore. At least that's what Alka thinks, until a careless block nearly gets him cut. He can't understand it, but the monster keeps pressing him. It doesn't seem weakened at all by the earlier wound. Then Alka notices the legendary goblin is wearing a strength-boosting bracelet. It's an enchanted item, and even from here he can see the energy coming off it. Since leveling up usually isn't this easy, adventurers use enchanted gear to raise their power as much as they can. Still, Alka never expected a monster to have one too. Even so, the answer is simple: break the bracelet first. He dodges another attack without wasting a second, and even if it won't be easy, he locks in. From here on, he's done holding back. He's going all in, and he'll use the power of the strong to wipe this monster out. Their weapons crash together, but Alka keeps driving forward, and the monster feels it as it digs in, just to hold its ground. Even so, it fires back with a side slash that sends him flying. Alka is frustrated, but then remembers the knives he used on the smaller goblins, and quickly gathers them to use against the boss, who blocks with a huge cleaver. Even then, Alka throws another, forcing the monster to block again. That brief distraction is all he needs to close the distance to its face. The goblin reacts fast, but Alka uses its weapon as a step to slip to the side with one of the knives, finally pulling off the move he wanted from the start, hitting the bracelet. The enchanted item shatters as it hits the ground. Now Alka faces the monster head-on, showing he's in control. He says it's time to reel in the little fish. When it comes to that legendary goblin, Alka was weak and scared when he first entered this lair. Now their power gap has completely flipped, so he says it's his turn to do the scaring, and asks if the monster is ready. The goblin gives no answer, it only roars, and Alka charges at full speed, smashing through the goblin's guard. Its defense means nothing now, and this time the monster is the one slammed into the wall, covered in fresh wounds. Alka walks up slowly and asks how it feels to be weak. Then he unleashes several slashes, saying not to resent him, he's only trying to survive. At last he knocks the goblin's weapon away, and by beating this enemy that once towered over him, all the talk about him being just a corpse looter starts to die, along with the weak person he used to be. Even without a weapon, the monster throws one last punch, but it runs straight into Alka's sword, ending everything at once. And since that monster was the reason he got stronger, Alka actually thanked it. Then several lights float out of the corpse and into his armor, confirming his new level. An amazing 80. With the fight over, Alka tells Mel she can come out, and even she is stunned by what he did. At this point he'd be nearly unbeatable in this place. Even so, Alka doesn't feel excited. Still, he takes a rare drop from the legendary goblin, its tusk. He never thought he'd ever get something this valuable. Mel asks to store it with the rest of their loot, since her small bag is already packed with coins and rare item pieces. Alka apologizes for loading her down, but she says she doesn't mind. Then she asks what they should do next, now that they got everything. Since there's no need to hurry back to the village, Alka figures that if he leaves the goblins alone, they could kidnap someone else. So he asks Mel to come with him a little farther in, because he wants to make sure no more monsters take another villager. From then on his goal is simple: wipe out every goblin in the cave. After some time they finally return to the village, and now that Alka has reached level 100, even he feels uneasy. Still, at level 100, he should be able to beat most monsters around here. For the first time, he can really call himself a true adventurer. Mel asks what he means, because she's never heard of any adventurer in this village with a 3-digit level. That means Alka isn't just another adventurer anymore, he's the strongest one here. Alka still has trouble believing that, but he spent so long just trying to stay alive that he never paid attention to anyone else. Mel was shocked at first by his power to absorb levels from enemies, but now she's sure he'll only keep getting stronger. She tells him she'll be cheering him on. Their calm talk is cut off when a group of adventurers shows up, greeting the corpse scraper with open hate. Alka knows the man leading them well, Jurek. The white-haired jerk mocks the black armor, and the others laugh, thinking Alka bought gear because he still can't level up. Jurek warns that fancy equipment won't help him. To him, a level 1 loser can't make up for being weak with armor like that. But before he can keep going, Alka cuts him off, appears with a knife in hand, and says he's had enough. With a cold look, he tells him one more time to shut up. Jurek is clearly shaken by the threat, but once he remembers who he's dealing with, he gets mad again and throws a kick that knocks Alka back. In his eyes, Alka is still just a corpse looter who has no right to talk back. But when Jurek tries to push even harder, Alka drops him to the ground in one move. His friends freeze in fear, and when Alka asks who's next, no one answers. Jurek can't make sense of it, because a level 20 shouldn't lose to a level 1. Alka tells him the truth. Jurek doesn't even have a fourth of his power. At once, they all open their systems to check the corpse scraper's real level. Then the adventurers are left speechless, because impossible or not, it's real. Alka is level 100, and to them, that makes him look like a monster. He finds it pretty ironic. First they called him trash, and now he's a monster. Still, he says he just wants to be a normal adventurer. No one listens. The second they see his true level, the whole group runs. Mel isn't surprised at all. Alka isn't the same person anymore. Smiling, she tells him to believe in himself more. Then she urges him to share this news with everyone in town. A little later, at the material shop, the old shopkeeper harshly asks what he wants. Like always, Alka says he's here to sell, but because he's known as a corpse looter. The old man says it doesn't matter how neat it looks, trash is still trash. This time though, Alka has something to prove him wrong. He asks if this is trash too, and the moment he shows it, even the rude vendor is shocked. It's a legendary goblin tusk. Since it's such a rare item, the old man demands to know where he got it. Alka says he killed the monster himself. The old man doesn't buy that. So Alka calls Mel, and she dumps everything from their last trip onto the counter. Seeing all that, Alka asks if he's buying or not. If not, he'll just sell it somewhere else. Rude as ever, the old man still knows good materials when he sees them, so he agrees to buy everything. With a fake smile, Alka tells him to pay a fair price. Later, at the food market, Alka heads to the baker stall. Since that old man always treated him kindly, he gives him a bag full of gold, leaving the baker stunned. Alka says he finally beat a strong monster, and he's glad he never gave up. The old man doesn't hesitate. He hugs the boy and says he's glad Alka kept going too. Then, a loud uproar breaks out at the entrance to the village, so Alka says he'll talk later. At the gates, a pack of white werewolves is tearing through the village. One of them is about to make a girl its next meal, but Alka rushes in at the last second, saving her and getting her out safely. Even so, the werewolf's behavior feels strange to him. Still, he tells them they picked the wrong day to attack the village. As long as he's here, none of them are getting past the gates. These are level 8 werewolves, and normally they would have been stopped before reaching the village. But Jaraid and the others who were supposed to handle this ran away, so Alka understands what's going on. That also means it's his job to step in. One werewolf lunges at him, but Alka dodges easily. At his current strength, he can kill as many as he needs. The real problem is that they aren't all targeting him. Some are going after the villagers, and he can't protect everyone at once. If he doesn't act fast, people are going to die. One man is only a step away from being torn apart when Alka jumps in, blocks the attack with his own body, and kills the beast. He asks if the man is hurt, but after answering, the villager notices it's the corpse scraper who saved him. Alka doesn't stop to care about that, saving people matters more. He knows everyone still sees him as the hated corpse scraper, but that's no excuse to leave others to die. Soon enough, as Alka keeps fighting, the villagers realize he's the one protecting them. Then he closes in on the final monster, knowing the battle will end once it falls. With a single slash, he kills the last enemy, and his armor absorbs the power. His level shoots all the way up to 172, but that gain bothers him. He counted 10 werewolves. If he killed all of them, his level should have risen by 80, so one more must still be hiding. From a rooftop, the last monster prepares to strike a little girl. The second Alka notices, the beast ignores him and leaps straight at her. Alka panics, because even after getting this strong, he still might not save her in time. And that's almost exactly what happens. As the girl looks up and sees the werewolf just a few feet away, Alka refuses to let that happen. He thinks maybe he can still make it by throwing his sword, but he only gets one shot. Even so, he'll make it count, because he has to hit. The werewolf rushes the girl, and Alka's sword flies toward it, until it finally strikes the beast, and blasts it away from her. The little girl now realizes the one standing there is the corpse scraper, but when she learns he saved her, all that fear and bias disappear, and she thanks him. That alone makes Alka happy, but the warm moment doesn't last. With the invasion over, more villagers start walking up, and one of them says he needs to talk to Alka. Alka assumes this is going to be another headache from people upset that he saved them, so when another person comes over too, he says he's leaving, since nobody wants him there. But to his surprise they ask him to wait, because all they wanted to say was thank you. Thanks to him everyone is safe. The man he saved earlier says maybe Alka thought he was overreacting, but since Alka risked his own life for him, he's truly grateful. That catches Alka completely off guard. Then the little girl's mother steps forward, and because her daughter was saved, she bows her head deeply in thanks. Alka gets flustered and quickly asks her to stand. He explains that he only did it because he wanted to save everyone. He knows his past as a corpse looter won't just vanish. Even so, now that he has the strength to protect people, Alka says he'll become the kind of adventurer who helps others. Then, with a smile, he adds that if they want to keep watching him for now, that's all he asks. That day, Alka started as nothing more than a corpse scraper, but by the end, he was the adventurer who saved the village. The next day, life in the small town starts to feel normal again. When she spots our hero, Mel runs over to him with a big smile. Because of that, Alka greets her warmly, but she quickly notices he is not wearing his armor. Still, about that, the hero just snaps his fingers, showing he can now equip and remove it in an instant, and the girl is amazed by it. Alka says that with this armor, he can become a great adventurer, and he was really lucky to find it in the goblin nest. Even so, he still cannot stop wondering why a dead dragon was there. For now though, that does not matter. Somewhere else, someone suddenly yells for everyone to run. They are inside the goblin nest, close to the dragon's corpse they were talking about. Cheery screams for everyone to get away from it, and his teammates bolt immediately. Then, in a flash, a pool of blood makes it clear what happened to the other two. Desperate to understand what is going on, the group's leader shouts, demanding to know what kind of creature stands before him. But Janae only stares back in silence, and starts building up a huge electric charge. Seeing that, the adventurer lets out a hopeless laugh, knowing this is the end for him too. And once the energy blast is ready, the mysterious monster fires it without hesitation. The sound is so huge that even our hero hears it from far away and wonders if he really heard it. A little earlier, Cheery's group had been hunting a one-eyed troll, and because it was already hurt, the leader told the others not to let it get away. Seeing the chance for easy money, they agreed. During the chase, the troll ran into the goblin cave. Cheery complains that after leaving the mission to stop the werewolves, they got hit with a huge fine. That is why they cannot afford to lose such valuable prey. As the monster crawls deeper inside, shaking from exhaustion, it catches a scent that pulls it toward the center of the cave. That smell leads it to the dragon's rotting body, but for some reason, it does not smell bad to the troll at all. To it, the scent is delicious. Not long after, Cheery and his party follow behind, and he says the troll must be close. Then something suddenly catches him off guard. The smell from the dragon is so awful, it nearly overwhelms everyone there. But the white-haired man notices something even worse. In the middle of the dragon's corpse, the troll they were chasing is tearing into the flesh like a beast. Then the second man in the group realizes something is wrong. After all, something starts coming out from inside the monster, and Cheery instantly knows this is about to turn bad. Following the strange sound, the protagonist realizes he was right, it was not his imagination. There really is something strange in the air, and it all seems to be coming from this place. Then he hears another noise, even louder than before, and his face turns serious. As he goes deeper into the cave, the stench gets worse, and soon he reaches the dragon's corpse. But when he gets to the place where he found the armor, he sees a transformed troll slaughtering Cheery's group. The moment it notices a new arrival, it throws aside the white-haired boy's companion and turns all its attention to the protagonist. Even Alka is shocked, because this monster is unlike anything he has fought before. Still, now that he is level 180, he thinks there is no way he can lose, so he plans to finish it with one clean strike before it can act. But the armor warns that because of the gap between his level and the enemies fighting it is strongly discouraged, making Alka hesitate. That brief pause gives the monster an opening, and it attacks. The armor can only tell him to dodge immediately, but he is already hit by a crushing blow that slams him to the ground, and leaves him badly hurt. To make sure what he is facing, the protagonist checks the monster's status, and the system's warning is confirmed. This thing is a fallen variant at level 200. Right away the armor detects a massive energy buildup in the troll's head. It urges him to dodge at once, but Alka cannot move. The warnings keep repeating as the monster gets closer to firing. Then Alka forces his body with everything he has, because if he stays down now he will be the next one. This abomination kills. With 10 seconds left before impact, and still unable to move, he starts thinking the worst. Even so, he uses his sword to push himself up to one knee, and with barely a second left, Alka nearly gets back on his feet. But the monster does not wait for him to rise before firing the blast. The attack hurls the protagonist into a wall, and the damage almost knocks him out cold. Luckily for him, after seeing the boy broken on the ground, the monster chooses to leave. Sometime later, Alka finally comes to, asking what just happened. The armor says the creature may have mistaken its owner for dead, and Alka silently thanks his luck. His body is badly damaged, so the system strongly recommends potions. Remembering the ones he took from the goblins, he drinks the first one, and once he can move again, Alka mutters that he should thank them. Still, he needs to go after the monster right away, because he is sure its next target is Raquel village. Before he can leave though, someone calls him a corpse scavenger, and when he looks over, he sees Jurek somehow still alive, even in terrible shape. Without any shame, the boy demands the healing potions. He thinks medicine like that would be wasted on trash like Alka anyway. Showing how rotten he really is, Jurek says he will drink them and run, leaving the village as bait. So even angrier than before, he screams again for the potions. Jerslaki coughs up blood and keeps begging, his whole body wrecked and his mind falling apart. Alka actually considers it, but first asks the abyss armor if it would matter. The system replies that the injuries are fatal, and no matter what the boy will die after a few more minutes of severe pain. Hearing that, the hero asks one more thing before deciding. He wants to know if level drain can take levels from a human too. When the system says yes, Alka gently tells Jirig there is no saving him now, and deep down Jirig already knew it, he was just clinging to a lie to escape the pain. Alka says there is one thing he can still do for him, and that's suffering. Jirig understands at once and asks to be killed now, with no hesitation. Alka admits he never liked the guy, but it still hurts to say goodbye like this. Even so, he does it, absorbing Jirig's power and reaching level 200. Sometime later, the monster moves through the forest until it spots the edge of the village. It is clearly following its instinct toward humans, but that is when the protagonist catches up to it, and slashes its arm, making it roar in pain. Not wasting a second, our hero rushes in at full speed and says he is done losing to it. He attacks again, but this time, the monster blocks smartly. Even so, with his sword aimed at the beast, Alka warns that next time it should finish off its enemy, because it failed, now they stand at the same level. And done dragging this out, Alka challenges it to fight. First, he tells the monster to stay sharp. Even if he never liked Jirig, Alka still had to kill someone he knew with his own hands. And he has never been this angry before. The monster strikes first, coming up from below with confidence, but our hero plants a foot on its shoulder to spring higher and cuts into its back before it can guard. The move works, but the wing is tougher than he expected. Suddenly, energy starts gathering around the monster's eye, and Alka refuses to let it fire that attack again. But the beast proves it is smart. That charge was only a fake, used to lure him in before kicking him away. Then, while he is wide open, the monster grabs a whole tree and slams it into him. The hit launches him far away, smashing through several trees before he ends up pinned against a rock wall. Now that the level gap is gone, they are evenly matched. So Alka has no clear edge. On top of that, the monster has been using fiends this whole time. But Alka drinks another potion, and that becomes his biggest advantage. Furious, he declares that this is not over, and rushes straight at the beam. The monster is charging. As he closes in, the system warns that the attack cannot be stopped. So he changes plans, dodges at the last second, and swings his sword with everything he has. The troll tries to block with its tough wings, but Alka's furious blow almost splits both of them apart. While the monster reels from the damage, the hero realizes he finally broke through. But then the beast suddenly looks away from him. In its eye, the reflection of the village becomes clear. Alka's heart drops, but the monster only puts power into its legs and leaps into the air toward the place with the most humans. It happens so fast that the protagonist cannot react right away. Once he realizes the village is the target, the boy takes off after it at full speed, knowing he has to stop an even bigger disaster. A second later, the monster is already over the village, before anyone can even figure out what's happening. A blast goes off and sends the whole town into panic. From the smoke, the fallen Varian appears. It lets out a roar, showing off its power. Alka keeps chasing it, but fear hits him hard when he sees it has already reached the village. Acting on pure instinct, the monster tears through everything in its way. The villagers scatter, screaming and begging for help. Then the troll starts charging its eye-beam again. Seeing that, the protagonist can only think this has to be a sick joke. But the worst happens. The beam fires and rips through several homes in an instant. Then the protagonist closes in from above, leaping off a rooftop and rushing the monster in a fury. The beast shields its eye with one arm, and tries to brush him off again. But a real hero won't let that slide. He jumps ahead and cuts off its escape, hammering at the fallen Varian's guard once more. For a few moments they clash, attack against defense. Still, the protagonist won't back down. He readies another blow and warns that this fight isn't over. He has to save the village no matter what. Using all its strength, the troll gathers power in its eye and launches another beam, even faster than before. This time there is no room to block. At the same time, it snatches the protagonist out of the air and slams him down with a brutal punch. Alka crashes into the village streets with a huge explosion, and the monster finally breaks free to run again. Even so, the hero refuses to stay down. He knows he's the only adventurer strong enough to face this monster, so he forces himself back to his feet. With a grim look, he decides to end this once and for all. A little later, the village baker runs into the Varian by pure bad luck but doesn't panic when he sees it. Even as the monster tries to scare him with its roars, the old man stays put. In a village this small, he knows running won't save him, so he chooses to wait right there for some hero to come save him, and that faith pays off. Because the protagonist arrives before the monster can do any real damage to him. With a teasing smile, Alka says he's way too clumsy to be called a hero. Still, the old man doesn't care. Alka showed up, and that's what matters. Even so, Alka admits he still doesn't know if he can beat the monster, even with both of them now at the same level. The baker goes to a box and tells him not to think so negatively, then he tosses the boy a piece of bread and calls it a gift. Looking at it closely, it's the very last bread left from back when the boy was still a corpse scavenger. The old man says things are rough, but still nowhere near as bad as those days. Alka takes a bite, and bluntly says the bread tastes awful, but somehow, it really does lift his spirits. It gives him courage. He points his sword at the monster and tells it to get ready. They're finishing this now. This time, our hero makes the first move. Using a fake, he acts like he's going for the eye to open up the arm. But the monster suddenly grabs him with its other hand, catching him off guard. Then without any pause, the beast hurls him away. He flies over the rooftops before crashing to the ground. Now Alka starts to panic, wondering how he can even hurt it. Then he hears someone nearby, and when he turns, he sees a small child. Alka instantly yells for the kid to run, but the child is frozen in panic and can't move. Worse still, the monster's instincts lock onto the weakest human there. In the next instant, it leaps straight at the child, and with a terrifying roar, winds up for a deadly attack. At the very last second, the protagonist jumps in and takes the hit for the child, who even while terrified, manages to get out of the way. Alka isn't so lucky, this time even his defense can't fully stop the blow. He begs the child again to run, more desperately now, because he knows he can't keep this up. As the monster prepares the finishing strike, the hero asks the child to be brave just a little longer. Though his whole body is shaking, the boy gets up, says he'll try, and sprints away without looking back, leaving the protagonist alone with the monster, which now seems pleased. The system warns that the enemy has finished charging its energy, and recommends pulling out of the area immediately, but the hero apologizes to the Abyss armor. This time, he can't follow that advice. Without any delay, the laser fires from the monster's eye, and slams into the protagonist, tearing through houses and everything in its path. In the end, he survives by guarding with his sword, but the force is overwhelming. Even at the same level, the gap in combat skill is still massive, so after taking that much damage, the hero reaches for a potion, but then he realizes he dropped it, when he was thrown through the houses, so now he has to go after it. But little by little, his strength keeps slipping away, until he sinks into darkness, thinking he failed to protect the village. Even then, one part of him still clings to hope that he can get back up and keep fighting. So Alka desperately begs in his mind for anyone to help him, and somehow, the last potion is suddenly poured into his mouth. When the boy wakes up, he sees a girl standing right in front of him. Alka quickly sits up and asks who she is. The girl answers honestly, and introduces herself as Lily, just a village girl, who wants to protect the home she grew up in, and loves. Their calm moment doesn't last, because a terrifying sound from the monster reminds the hero he has to get back to the fight. Before that she says she's been watching him risk everything for the village, and knowing he still cares about this place makes her really happy. Then she holds out her hand and says they should run for now. Of course, the hero refuses, he's the only one who can beat the monster, but she says there's a reason to run. If he falls, then no one in the whole village will be left to save. Even with the town being destroyed, Lily insists that until his wound heals, he has to avoid fighting that monster. Alka hates it, but he knows she's right, and that he'll need time before he can fight at full strength. Suddenly, the very monster they were talking about drops in front of them. The girl quickly reaches for the protagonist's hand, and seeing no other choice, he agrees to retreat with her, until he recovers. As they flee into an alley, the hero asks how she even knows his name. Still running, she says Alka is pretty well known around here. He asks if that's because he used to be a corpse scavenger, and yeah, that's part of it. But Lily says the real reason she knows him is because she sees him as a hero. She explains that she was there when werewolves attacked the village, and that's why she believes in him. If this disaster is in the hero's hands, she's sure he'll fix it. Hearing that faith in her voice, Alka lifts his fist and promises that he will save the village, exactly what Lily wanted to hear. Then another strange sound stops them. This time, it's a human scream. When they rush over, they find a bandit dragging a girl away and trying to take her out of the city by force. Worse, that same man is actually thankful for the monster, because now no one can stop them from doing whatever they want. To him this chaos is just a chance to make money. The protagonist watches in disgust, sickened by people using the disaster to get what they want. It's all the same, but then something startles her. Just as the hero starts to speak, he notices that one of the men spotted her from behind and grabbed her. In an instant, the girl he just saved becomes the bandit's hostage. With a cold voice, the bald man says, if the boy wants her unharmed, he'll do exactly as told. First, he has to walk over to the carriage ahead. The hero agrees, but once he gets there, he's kicked down. That even throws the bandit leader off for a second. He had already said they didn't need a man, but then he notices the pretty girl they caught too. Taking her over, he grins in a gross way because he knows she could sell for a high price. Disgusted by that, the protagonist asks if the leader has no conscience at all at a time like this. The bandit doesn't hesitate, he says he doesn't. They came to rob the village from the start, so he tells the hero they should be grateful the bandits weren't the ones killing the townspeople. That sends the protagonist into a rage, and he wants to wipe this trash out as fast as possible. The leader notices the anger on his face and steps closer, asking if he's an adventurer. Then he leans in and whispers that this must be humiliating because no matter how strong he is, right now he can't do a thing. With that, the group gets ready to leave, and the leader tells the bald man to keep a close eye on the girl. If the adventurer tries anything, it'll be trouble. Alka hears all of it, and knows he only needs one opening, so he waits for the right moment to save her, until someone suddenly appears behind the kidnapper with a knife. Right away the bandit shouts for his partner to dodge, and then it's revealed that the attacker is actually Mia. Since the bald man was warned in time, he slips away easily without releasing the hostage, making the girl slam face first into the ground. The bald bandit sneers that she can't beat him and should know the gap between them, but to his surprise, she says that's fine. That only makes him more confused, because right behind him, someone else is already stepping in. In an instant, Alka closes the distance and lands a full-force punch, before the big guy can even react. The bald man goes down, and Lila is finally free. She drops straight into Alka's arms. Seeing this, the bandit leader orders everyone in at once, and screams for them to kill the hero, before he causes more trouble. Soon they all surround the boy. The leader asks if Alka is really sure about this, warning that he won't go easy on him. When Alka stays silent, the gunslinger takes it as fear. With no reply from him, the bandits rush in to finish him. Then Alka remembers what the bald man said before he lost. He claimed you need to understand the gap in strength before deciding to fight. That makes this pretty ironic, because the bandit leader picked a fight he had no chance of winning. After that, Alka unleashes a massive level absorption. When only the leader remained among the bandits, panic set in. This was way beyond a normal adventurer. Then Alka makes sure to confirm it, especially since he's already level 200. In one last desperate move, the bandit pulls his sword, and charges in wildly. But Alka cuts him down with a single swing of his sword. After absorbing his power too, the armor's owner reaches level 250. The system then announces that he has reached the highest level a human can have. After beating the bandit, Alka thinks over what he just heard. He asks if level 250 is really the limit, and the system says yes. He'd never heard of an adventurer reaching a level that high, but he also never thought there was a cap. Still, now that it's all over, Lydia throws herself at her savior, thanking him for saving her. But Alka refuses to take the credit. To him, this was the least he could do after the potion she gave him earlier. If he hadn't taken it in time, he knows he would have died. Even so, Lydia stays happy because to her, Alka is her hero. But with that praise and the bandits lying dead around them, Alka can't accept it. He still sees himself as immature. If he had spared those bandits, they would have just attacked another village. That's why he says he used the sword because he saw no better choice. Lydia answers that he isn't wrong. When he asks what she means, she says it again even more firmly. If Alka hadn't used that sword, everyone would be dead. So she tells him to be prouder of himself. With a gentle look, she says she won't let him put himself down. After hearing all that, Alka thanks her and says it's a relief to hear. It finally helps him regain his confidence. Just then, Maul shows up and says she got all the trapped people out safely. As a reward, he gives her a pat on the head, and that makes her beam. She really wanted to help, because standing by and leaving everything to Alka was never something she could do. So now she calls to him and asks to fight by his side until the end. But since the bandits are already gone, Alka tells her that won't be needed, which catches her off guard. A few seconds later, while the monster keeps destroying everything, Alka tells the girls to get as far away as they can. Especially now, because at level 250, the system says he can easily overpower the monster. After growing this strong, he's finally ready to go back to the fight. And before he even has to run there, the monster appears on its own, dropping from the sky. Its landing alone sends out a huge blast of wind, strong enough to shake the girls, though Alka doesn't budge. Even so, he says he's ready, and then once more tells the two of them to run, because he's ending this now. The girls agree and run off together, hand in hand. Now alone with the monster, Alka apologizes for running from it before, but says he won't run again. It's time to finish this fight. The variant roars to show its dominance, but Alka doesn't flinch this time. Instead, he charges straight at it. At first he couldn't even use a sword because of how weak he was. Then he finally got to hold a real blade in good shape, and later began using it to protect the people around him. In this moment, Alka remembers fighting the wolves, and also the time he had to kill Jirig. He remembers the villagers too, people waiting to be saved while still fighting to survive. So Alka says he'll carry everyone's hopes by continuing to wield this sword. With overwhelming presence, he says the monster should feel honored. It's reached the end of its growth. After all, this variant will be the first enemy to feel humanity's full strength. Filled with anger as always, the monster clenches its fists and rushes in to kill the adventurer once and for all, but now it's knocked back the moment it tries to attack. Alka calmly says that kind of move won't work anymore, then drives a punch into its chest. As the beast is sent flying, he gets above it and follows with another blow, this time using gravity to add even more force. Of course, that show of power kicks up a massive cloud of dust. Then the monster gathers energy in its eye for a last resort. This time, the variant puts everything into its light beam. The system detects the energy building up, and it's several times stronger than before. But instead of dodging, Alka says he'll stand there until the monster gives up. From close range, the variant fires its strongest beam, and Alka gets ready to take it head-on. To him it doesn't matter how hard the beast tries, and that becomes clear when a barrier forms and blocks the attack. With a 50-level difference, Alka knows there's no chance he'll lose now. Amid the ruins of what used to be a peaceful village, the two powerhouses face off. Acting on instinct, the variant roars and tries to overwhelm him again. But when it feels Alka's aura, something changes. It looks scared. At first, the monster used its greatest power to crush this village. Now it's about to be crushed by a force even greater. For Alka, who's already been through so much, that kind of thing isn't strange anymore in this world. In the blink of an eye, he flies right in front of the monster, and presses the attack openly. The beast throws a punch to stop him, but Alka slips past it and smashes the variant's head, dropping it to the ground in a daze. Even while down it keeps fighting by charging a fast laser and firing it at him. Alka faces it with almost bored eyes now, tired of the beast repeating the same trick. Since that's how it wants to be, he says he'll show it what real despair looks like. Once again, Alka takes the attack head-on, and this time barely puts in any effort. The monster keeps blasting its power until it finally wears itself out, and the attack stops. Smoke even starts rising from its eyes. But the biggest thing is its shock, because when the dust clears, the variant sees that Alka is completely unharmed. That was his plan all along, to make the gap between them impossible to ignore. Once it understands that, the monster looks frustrated and furious at the same time. It screams, ignoring Alka's strength, and set on fighting again, lashes out however it can. The beast mixes close attacks with quick eye blasts, but Alka avoids everything, and even in mid-air he dodges the ice shots and counters at the same time. With nothing in his way now, it's Alka's turn to strike, so the beast tries to block with its arm like before. That turns out to be its worst mistake, because Alka's blade cuts straight through, taking off one of the beast's most important limbs. Alka steps back, and out of patience, tells the monster to kneel, so they can end this quickly. That obviously wounds the variant's pride, so it starts firing beams all over the place. None of it works, and with one horizontal slash, Alka overwhelms the beast completely. As it drops to its knees, Alka leaps onto it. Because it hurt this village's people so badly, he drives his sword straight into the center of its eye. And just like that, the beast that once seemed unbeatable, is defeated. After this new victory, the system tries to absorb its levels, but can't, since Alka has already hit the level cap. So instead, it unlocks new Ibis Arnor functions, including level conversion, letting him reach even greater power. The next day, after the variant's defeat, the people are already hard at work rebuilding the city. One person calls for wood from up on a roof, and a helper says he'll bring it right away. But then someone trips over a rock and is about to fall, until Alka suddenly catches him from behind. So the villager looks at his savior in surprise, then quickly thanks the hero of the village. A little later, when things calm down some, Alka asks what this level conversion actually is. The system explains that he can trade levels to gain new epic skills. It also says epic skills are rare techniques with many different uses, like boosting movement speed or raising fire resistance, very useful tools for adventurers. Normally people get these skills much earlier while leveling up, but since our hero couldn't gain any experience, he never got those skills. So even though he already hit the level cap, he had no epic skills to show for it. Even with that chance right in front of him, Alka cares more about figuring out what this Ibis Arna really is. For the first suggested skill, the system offers one that lets him go past human limits. The problem is the price: 240 levels. That's almost everything he's earned up to now. He's currently level 250, so losing that much would hurt. But thinking ahead, this power feels necessary. So the hero asks for the skill right away, and the system accepts, setting it up to activate when he says the command. Without hesitating, he requests the power to go beyond human limits. The conversion begins, and our hero shivers as his power is pulled away. The lights of his experience fade out so brightly that people in the village notice it from far away. It doesn't stop from the core of energy in his heart. Everything keeps pouring out, until at last, with one final flash, the system says the payment is complete, and the skill now belongs to him. Alka feels proud of how far he's come from being a corpse looter. Still, something even stranger lingers, because he realizes it feels like his own power has grown wider somehow. Then the system tells him he has gone past the human level limit, meaning he's become a transcendent being. Hearing that, Alka can't help but smile. As he looks up and thinks it over, he realizes again just how much his life has changed. Meanwhile, at the village entrance, an annoyed man says he came back because he thought the time had finally come. He's furious because our hero already beat the monster he wanted to fight. That means the trip was pointless, but now he's curious about who could have taken that beast down. Back with the hero, the system suddenly says that since he broke past the level cap, the 200 stored levels will now go to the armor's wearer. Alka remembers this is because when he killed that monster, he couldn't absorb its experience. So now he's at level 210, which is lower after the conversion, but still very strong. That makes Alka think he should grab more epic skills with lower costs, since they're incredibly useful. If he gets enough of them, he might become the strongest adventurer alive. He's just starting to plan for the future, when sudden footsteps rush in, and Lily happily runs up to the hero, jumping at him and leaving him flustered. With a sweet look, she says she was searching for him, because after he destroyed the monster, everything has been total chaos. He apologizes and explains, he spent the whole day helping put out fires. Lily steps closer and says she was really worried about him, and of course, the other girl was too. Our hero says he's just glad both of them are safe, but Lila insists that's thanks to him. In the end, she's grateful and embarrassed at the same time, so she shows it by kissing him on the cheek. It's a small kiss, but afterwards she can't even look Alka in the eye. For a brief moment after that, they stare at each other, and the silence says plenty. Then Lila finally shuts her eyes, gathers her courage, and blurts out that she loves him, before running off in total embarrassment. Alka is the one left the most stunned. Mil though takes it much more casually, and even the baker shows up to praise his godson. Red-faced and annoyed, Alka yells at both of them to leave. In the end, he never thought someone could actually feel that way about him after his past. He has no idea what to do next, and then the system makes it worse by recommending he show his masculinity. A few days later, on the road to Rockall village, a party of adventurers heads in. Their leader realizes this is the place they were sent to, but since it looks deserted, he thinks they may be too late. Akali says another monster may have hit the area, because if a flaming dragon showed up here, the whole village could have been wiped out. Still, the green-haired man says they should go in and ask what happened, because they have to stop any more damage from the flaming dragon. So he tells everyone to keep moving, and the group follows their leader, Ein. Meanwhile, back in the cave area where everything happened, deeper inside goblin territory, a huge sound echoes out, and the cause is the arrival of an incredibly powerful black dragon. This time, somewhere else, the protagonist is testing his knife, throwing it at passing herbivore dinosaurs, and dropping them fast even though there are a lot of them. Altair is back at level 1 now, but over the last few days he's picked up new epic skills. One of them gives permanent poison, and he just tested it on those dinosaurs. The cost was steep, it took 200 levels from him. Even so, one hit from a poison knife is enough to kill smaller monsters. He also improved his knife accuracy, so with both skills, even if level conversion drops his level, he can still get stronger without fighting tough enemies head-on. The drawback is that the poison takes a few hours to finish draining a monster's health. But even a beginner could level easily this way. Then a light starts coming toward him, meaning one of the monsters has died. After absorbing that experience, the armor jumps from level 1 to 41. Alka doesn't stop there, and upgrades the poison effect again, which sends him right back to level 1. Even so, this should help him build power much faster. By now the protagonist is exhausted, but after stabbing around 20 monsters over a few hours, he'll soon be back near level 200. Since he's done what he wanted, Alka decides to head back to the village. When he gets there, he finds a big commotion, and quickly asks what's going on. Then a level 120 adventurer named Aeon asks if the hero is an adventurer too. If so, he says, open the system, it might help explain things. But he quickly notices the level is pretty low. Since the protagonist traded his levels for skills, everyone judges him without knowing the truth. But Alka already knows this kind of humiliation well, trying to smooth things over. Aeon says the boy must be new to adventuring. He's shocked when the hero answers that he's been doing this for years. The white-haired collie jumps in next, joking that it has to be a lie. But when he sees Alka's serious expression, even he gets the point. That makes the man remember rumors he'd heard about an adventurer known as the weakest of the weak, a so-called corpse scraper. Alka doesn't deny that he's the one they're talking about, he just asks what they're planning to do about it, and the pressure in his voice is enough to scare them. Not wanting a fight, Alishan explains, they're here on a guild subjugation mission. Recently they spotted a strange monster in this area, and when Alka asks which one, Alishan says it's a black dragon called the Flaming Dragon, over level 150. That's why he warns it will take more than a handful of adventurers to bring it down. To deal with it, they've formed a team made up of epic skill users. So the leader tells the boy not to worry, and since they still haven't introduced themselves, the two trade names with a handshake. Alka thinks that if the monster is really only level 150, he could beat it alone. Still, since it's a black dragon, he wonders if it has something to do with the body in the goblin cave. Just then, one of the adventurers comes running over, calling for the leader. Once he catches his breath, he urgently reports that the escort team has found the flaming dragon. That group is in an even worse spot, because there are so few of them. Those regular adventurers are finding out just how terrifying a flaming black dragon really is. The messenger adds that the scouting team is leading the dragon toward the prairie right now. Ijuan immediately says they're moving out, and after alerting everyone, the leader orders the adventurers to get ready for battle, and the whole team answers with a cheer. From what Alka can tell, the subjugation squad is around level 80 to 120, but even as an elite unit with epic skills, they don't stand a chance against a level 150 dragon. So the hero knows he can't just let them go alone, and calls out for the leader to take him too. By now, the monsters he stabbed with his poison knife are close to dying, and he should soon be back in the level 200 range. But since Ein has no idea about that, he refuses, saying he can't risk dragging a level 1 into danger. Even then, the hero keeps trying to push the issue, and just like before, those same judging looks return. People laugh and ask what a level 1 could possibly do, no matter how strong his sense of justice is. Then the white-haired man steps in again, and says he'll speak for his beloved leader. He flat out tells the weakling to stay out of it, matching the same cold attitude as the rest, while they leave Alka behind. Even after that humiliation, the protagonist knows people will die if he does nothing. Still, at his current level, it's no surprise they don't believe in him, so he has no choice but to wait and go after them later. Some time later, even the leader, the strongest among them, feels crushed by the monster's power. The reports calling it a level 150 flame dragon weren't even close. This thing is actually a disaster-class monster, the Dragon King who rules all black dragons. It's the Black Dragon King, a massive level 300 beast with the title of Flaming Destroyer. And standing before something that terrifying, the leader knows they only have one choice now. Run. Right now the best move is calling the guild for backup, but the dragon isn't about to wait for them to get help. With one casual swing of its tail, it sends the leader flying like he's nothing. Far away, Alka rushes in worried because the fight has already started. Even from there, he can tell this is the same dragon from the goblin cave. He can barely believe it recovered from that condition. Still, he keeps moving. This isn't the time to think. Just then, the monster gets ready to unleash a deadly attack, drawing flames into its mouth. Alka asks the armor how much longer until his levels come back. The system answers, around 30 more seconds. But even at top speed, the dragon is about to fire first. In panic, he begs to get his power back faster. Then at last, the experience lights appear behind him and sink into his body. That confirms the poison monsters have died, bringing him back up to around level 201. But instead of leaving it there, he asks for the flame nullification skill, before the attack lands. The Dragon King fires its strongest breath, and the blazing blast rushes straight at him. With huge effort, he barely activates the new skill. In the end, he only manages to save one person. Ein, the lucky survivor, is stunned that the boy stopped the flaming destroyer's breath. Even the white-haired man from earlier is in awful shape and can't believe a corpse looter lasted longer than they did. At last, the hero reveals it's because he's stronger than all of them. But since he was weakened, he couldn't protect everyone, so he apologizes for failing them. Then the man drops to the ground, seemingly dead. Alka burns with more anger than ever, because no matter how much stronger he gets, people still die right in front of him. So for the adventurers he couldn't save, he yells that he'll kill the monster now. The Dragon King fires another breath attack, and Elian screams for the boy to move. Alka calmly says he's fine, and takes the blast head on, catching it in his hands and crushing it with ease. He says that kind of fire won't work on him. Elian can only stare, trying to understand this. While the dragon, angry that it can't beat him, spits out more flames, Alka keeps knocking them away, stopping every attack without trouble. The fire attacks can't hurt him anymore, but getting flame nullification cost him a huge chunk of levels, dropping him back to level 21. So he starts wondering if he can really beat the dragon, and if there's any way to raise his level again. Meanwhile, the Dragon King switches to a physical charge, and nearly tears into him with its claws. That alone shows how deadly a swipe from this giant beast is. Alka knows that at his current level, he can't keep up with those claws. And while he watches the front, the tail suddenly whips at him from behind, with no way left to dodge. At least not for him, because someone suddenly appears, calls the whole thing pathetic, and with one swing cuts the dragon in half. With the monster brought down, the newcomer stands on its corpse, leaving the hero stunned by the display. Alka quickly demands to know who he is. Wearing a proud grin, the man introduces himself as Baldur. He's one of the continent's few Calamity-class adventurers. Alka can hardly believe it, and Ein admits he's never seen one in person either. These adventurers are the kind whose strength becomes stories, whose deeds turn into legends. They stand beyond normal human limits. That's what Calamity-class means. Baldur smirks and says the green-haired one knows his stuff. When Alka checks the system, he sees it's true, the guy is level 300. Baldur was born with the power to break limits, the total opposite of Alka's situation. Then he asks if the boy came to save them, but the idea alone offends him. He says they've got it all wrong. He only came to find the black-armored adventurer who ruined his plans. Alka asks what plans, and the redhead starts explaining. After asking around, Baldur heard a black-armored hero save the village from the one-eyed monster. Baldur was furious, but was disappointed to find only a weakling. Right then the dragon shows it isn't dead, and starts moving again. Baldur shuts it down by driving in his sword once more to silence the beast, annoyed that it interrupted him. Then after putting the dragon in its place he explains that unless the flaming destroyer's core is destroyed, it will keep regenerating. He also admits he already killed this dragon once in the goblin nest, which finally makes Alka connect the dots. But Baldur says he left the core intact on purpose, which leaves Alka confused, wondering why. Baldur explains that after the monster ate the flaming destroyer's flesh, its body changed completely and it went berserk. The Dragon King was strong enough to wipe out a whole village, so he needed something a little weaker. A berserk monster was perfect to attack the village, then die at the hands of the so-called savior. After that, Baldur planned to kill the guilty dragon again, and earn even more fame than if he'd beaten it with no one watching. Naturally, Aang is horrified hearing him say all that so casually. Then getting back to his complaint, Baldur snaps that Alka ruined everything by stepping in. Head lowered, Alka asks if he really risked the whole village for something so stupid. Baldur just laughs and says a calamity rank adventurer wants only fame, gold, and women. Just a life of pleasure. That was all Alka needed to hear. With a chilling look he says that's insane. For his own selfish wants, Baldur let innocent people suffer, and allies die, all because of his greed. So Alka asks the Abyss armor to lend him its power, because he's going to bring down this Calamity-class adventurer now. Baldur treats the threat like a joke, but he's also furious that Alka even thinks he can win. To prove the gap between them, he releases a crushing aura. Alka knows the man is level 300, and realizes that fighting him head-on at level 21 would get him destroyed, but behind Baldur, the Dragon King's crystal core gives him one chance. It's already close to breaking, so if he can destroy it and absorb the flaming destroyer's levels, he might win. So he asks if there's any skill that can break the core from a distance. The system begins searching, but it takes a few seconds. Before it's done, the Calamity-class adventurer leaps at him, ready to finish the fight. The hit lands before Alka can react, sending both him and Ein flying. Still, Alka takes the worst of it, dragged across the ground by the sheer force. Now he understands what a Calamity-class adventurer really is. Baldur clicks his tongue and says it's a shame he missed, but next time he won't. At this rate, Alka's defeat looks certain. Then the system finishes its search, and offers a skill called Micro-Explosive Weapon. It makes the weapon itself explode, and it costs 20 points. Alka asks what he's supposed to do with that. Blowing up his sword from far away won't destroy the core, and using his main weapon is too risky, so he keeps thinking about another option. Then he remembers the poison knife he used to level up, and suddenly he understands the plan. Baldur, meanwhile, is annoyed that he's still standing. He says one punch is all it'll take, but at that moment, Alka acquires micro-explosive weapon. Of course Baldur has no idea what the boy is doing, and Alka doesn't bother to explain. He just grabs his knives. Then, full of confidence, he says this will turn things around, and throws all three. As they fly, Baldur notices they're coated with permanent poison. He easily knocks away the ones aimed at him, even praising Alka's skill, but says it's pointless if he can't land a hit. Alka agrees, but says that isn't a problem. Those knives were only bait for the one headed toward the core, and when it got close to breaking, he shouted for the detonation. The core explodes, and Alka knows that the flaming destroyer is finally dead. The instant the monster dies, all its experience starts pouring out of the body, leaving Baldur stunned. Baldur's levels are absorbed by the hero, and even before he fully gets it, Alka rushes straight at the adventurer, and the two begin to clash. Baldur can't understand it, the boy was level 21 only minutes ago. Alka confirms the warrior was right, but only before, now he's level 301. That realization makes Baldur furious, because he finally understands how Alka beat the one-eyed monster. It was all because of this strange power the hero has, and in a rage Baldur strikes hard, sending Alka flying. The redhead warns him not to get cocky. The lead of one level won't be enough to beat the experience of an adventurer like him, a true calamity class fighter. Then he attacks again. Baldur smashes the ground where the hero was standing, but his eyes widen when he looks again. The hero uses that force to spin back in and bring down a heavy overhead strike, blasting the area apart again. Alka yells, asking what Baldur meant about having more experience, and blocks the adventurer's blade. Getting ready to hit back, he says a sword dirted by greed can never beat him. He proves it by slashing Baldur over and over, until Baldur finally snaps. Wrapped in a stronger aura than before, Baldur mocks the nerve of the boy in black armor for yelling at him. Then, burning with anger, he just tells Alka to shut up. As he activates his epic skill, the manifestation of the tyrannic god bursts out. While roaring and pouring out aura, a huge bolt of lightning crashes down and hits Baldur head-on. Right after that, the adventurer starts to transform. His body changes, his hair rises, and lightning crawls all over him. Of course Alka is terrified, while Baldur can only repeat one word, power. Then he launches a crushing attack and declares this is what a calamity-class adventurer really looks like. In an instant the attack closes in, ready to crush the hero, and Baldur yells for him not to run. If that strike lands, it's clearly over. So the protagonist dodges with everything he has, but he still realizes just how terrifying the tyrant god's power is. Alka decides he may have to use that one thing he found in the skill list. It was a special skill that could only be used once, so the protagonist answers back, shouting his request to the system. That makes Baldur attack again to stop him, but right before the charge connects, a shield appears in front of him, with Aang stepping in to protect him. The boy takes the full blow and crashes onto his back. Even then, Aang forces himself back up. Full of regret, he says that if he had beaten the Dragon King from the start, his friends would still be alive. That thought makes him break down, begging the hero to avenge them. Seeing how sincere he is, Alka agrees. At last the hero asks for the skill, and this time he chooses the curse of the black armor. Meanwhile, Baldur keeps attacking without pause, still yelling for Alka to be quiet. As that huge energy closes in, the system warns that the skill can only be used once, and asks for confirmation. The hero says yes. The request goes through, and the price is 1 level, plus an optional extra level cost. While blocking attacks, the protagonist tells the system to add the extra level cost. He offers all 300 levels he has to get the skill, and the system accepts. The level conversion happens instantly. It feels almost heavenly, and Aang, watching without understanding, asks who the protagonist even is. Naturally, after the conversion, the hero drops back to level 1. Baldur wants to know what he just did, but the moment he checks the hero's status window, he bursts out laughing. The boy is really back to level 1. Baldur assumes this is the limit of the hero's power, and charges in. Sure, he's about to kill him, but he couldn't be more wrong, because the hero's plan was to drag Baldur down with him. Right then, the curse of the black armor activates. Baldur is shocked when a dark energy suddenly pours out of alcohol. That energy quickly wraps around the adventurer and binds him from all sides. It doesn't take long for him to notice his power dropping. Then the hero reveals that this is the curse of the black armor. For every extra level paid, the skill lowers the enemy's level by that same number. So even if Baldur struggles now, it won't change anything, because the extra cost was 299 levels, and that's exactly how many he'll lose. With a cold look, the hero asks Baldur how many levels he thinks he'll have left. but someone this greedy can't accept it, and screams, begging to be spared. The hero answers with a confident smile, saying the answer is simple, now both of them are level 1. When the skill finishes, Baldur drops from the sky to the ground. Still unable to believe it, he desperately calls for his magic window. But one look is enough to show the truth. The mighty Calamity ranked adventurer has been reduced to level 1. He has never been this furious. But even at level 1, Baldur grits his teeth and swears he won't lose. He still calls himself a Calamity class adventurer, and even weakened, he thinks he can beat someone like him. That's what he believes. Until, in an instant, the protagonist appears and lands a clean strike. Then Sogi says that not long ago in Riko village, a man was judged for robbing corpses. That man was born unable to gain experience and could never level up. Still, none of this makes sense to Baldur. He yells for Alka not to toy with him, and swings his sword, forcing the hero back. Even so, Alka keeps going, saying that man stayed level 1, his entire life. Then he gives the point of the story. It's too bad Baldur ended up as that man's complete opposite. Because that corpse looter, the protagonist himself, learned to fight at level 1, better than anyone in the world. Now missing an arm, the adventurer bleeds heavily from the wound. Even so, with the tyrant god's powers still active, Baldur keeps standing and grips his sword, insisting he hasn't lost. But for the protagonist, that's already enough to decide Babel's ending. Even now, Baldur is too proud to stop. He rushes in and tries to strike from behind, screaming in rage. That only makes the protagonist look down on him, because Baldur can't even stay calm anymore. Alka quickly knocks the warrior's weapon away, and when he still won't stop, cuts him again and again. The adventurer takes every hit, then finally drops to the ground, beaten. A few seconds later, Orion, somehow still standing, walks over to speak. He thanks the hero from the bottom of his heart for avenging his friends. The protagonist only smiles, and says thanks aren't needed. He couldn't forgive Baldur either, and he would have fought him even without being asked. Then Alka turns serious again, because this still isn't over. Using the last of his strength, Baldur calls out to the boy in black armor. He admits he's lost both his arm and his power, as a Calamity class adventurer. Even so, he warns that others just as strong will hear about this soon. If he suddenly vanishes, the other Calamity class adventurers will come looking for answers. They're all difficult people, and Baldur makes sure to warn him that someone else will come in his place. Later he says, it will be over for the protagonist. Alka answers that if another Calamity class adventurer wants to fight him, then he'll beat every single one who comes. Baldur laughs and tells him to hold on to that confidence. But by now, he's lost too much blood. Something starts glowing, and the adventurer says his goodbye. ENN shouts that it's a teleport item, and the hero sprints forward to stop his escape. But Baldur warns that if the boy doesn't die first, then next time they meet, he'll be the one who wins. Before the protagonist can reach him, the adventurer is teleported high into the sky. In the end, he gets away, so ENN shouts asking what they should do since Baldur might attack again. The hero says it's fine to let him go, because even if he comes back someday, Alka is sure he won't lose. That helps calm Etienne down a little. Still, one thing remains true. A lot of people died that day. Etienne says he'll have to report everything to the city he came from. Then to the adventurer's surprise, the protagonist apologizes, and says he has a favor to ask. Etienne asks if Alka is really sure about this, but the protagonist says he's already made up his mind. That leaves both of them looking relieved, because the hero now plans to leave the village. A moment earlier, when he asked for a favor, ENN wondered what someone that strong could possibly want. He never expected the request would be a trip to another city. Truthfully, the hero wanted to keep being an adventurer here. But after what happened, those Calamity class adventurers are watching him now. Alka fears someone like Baldur could come again, and he doesn't want his hometown dragged into this again. Since he understands that, the green-haired boy agrees to help. Now that the flaming destroyer is no longer a threat, Ein shows him a necklace with a magic communication stone. It was used to call for adventurers to handle the aftermath. Even after the boy leaves, those warriors will guard the village, so it should be safe for now. Hearing that, Alka is deeply grateful, but as the two walk through the city, Mel watches from a distance, and runs over in a panic. When they reach the uncle's bakery, the shop is closed, and the old man is nowhere to be found. Ein asks if there's anyone the hero wants to say goodbye to, and Alka says yes. So the green-haired boy suggests leaving another day. Even so, Alka decides to go now, because saying goodbye face to face would be too hard. Not just his uncle, Mel and Lila too. In the end, he doesn't want to say farewell to anyone, because staying close to him will only get them hurt. So the two adventurers reach the city gate. Before they leave, Ein warns that once he goes, coming back won't be easy. The hero says he has no doubts, and that lets him walk away without turning around. But just before he can leave, his uncle calls his name. Even then, the old man tells him he doesn't need to look so sad about leaving. He heard the boy was getting ready for a trip, so he baked some bread for him. So his uncle gives him the bread. Alka keeps apologizing for trying to leave the village without a word, but the old man just asks him to smile, looking truly happy. He knows Alka must have a good reason for leaving. After all, he has watched Alka's life as an adventure from the very start. So all he wants is to see the boy off with a smile. Once Alka understands what he means, he smiles back and says goodbye with real warmth. A few minutes after leaving the village, Ein says the old man is a good person, and Alka agrees. Then Alka breaks off a piece of bread and eats it quietly, making Ein ask how it tastes. With a nostalgic smile, Alka says it's delicious. That makes both of them feel a little better. Then Ein says they're heading to the city where his guild is based, the southern administrative city, Dekaramu. As they get close to Dekaramu, Mel tells Lila what happened, but by then Alka has already left Rackle behind. Near Dekaramu, a group of goblins led by a level 5-1 attacks a wagon. Ein panics the second he sees the market cart under attack. Alka hands him the bread bag for a moment and says this is exactly what he needed. He wants to raise his level a bit before reaching the city. So Alka cuts down the goblins with ease and takes the experience. Then their higher level leader goes down too. Watching from the side, Ein gets nervous thinking about how strong Alka might become. After only a few seconds of combat, Alka wipes out every monster there and grows even longer. Now all they have to do is finish the trip to the southern administrative city. Once they can see the crowds and buildings, Ein says they've finally arrived. That catches Alka off guard. Ein starts explaining the city to him. This is Dekaramu, the southern administrative city. It's northwest of Rackle village and the biggest city in the south of the continent. The moment he steps inside, Alka notices how packed it is and how different it feels from home, though Ein says that's normal for a city this big. He adds that the southern branch of the Central Adventurers Management Council is in the middle of the city. A lot of guilds work here, and plenty of skilled adventurers gather in this place. So Ein tells him he probably won't stand out much, as long as he keeps his level around where it is now. Alka has already gone from level 1 to level 100, so he gets that there is no point in gaining more power than he needs right now, and he thanks Ein for the advice. On the way here, Alka had been trying to level up as much as he could, but Ein warned him not to push it too far. If he walked into the city with a crazy high level, he'd draw attention fast. For example, showing up at level 300 would make all of Dekaramu talk about a new Calamity class adventurer, and once that happens, other monsters just as strong would notice him too. Worse, if people learn he beat Baldur, he might get dragged into a fight right in the city. A lot of Calamity class adventurers are trouble anyway, so staying unnoticed is safer. To make his point, Ein looks at a scared little bunny left near the goblin fight. He says adventurers aren't supposed to fight each other. Then, gently calling the bunny over for a hug, he says their real job is to protect the peace. Seeing that, Alka realizes Ein is the kind of adventurer he can truly respect. Too many adventurers chase money and fame, like Baldur did. That's why Alka hopes he can become someone like Ein one day. A high level alone isn't enough. He wants the same sense of justice too. After that, Alka asks where they're going next. Ein apologizes for forgetting to mention it, and says they're heading to the Central Management Council to report the Dragon King case. But right after that, his face darkens, and Alka starts to wonder why. Inside the Central Adventurers Council headquarters, at the main desk, a staff member greets them, and asks if he's there to report the mission's completion. Ein says he already sent word by magic, so she tells him she'll get the reward ready. Before that though, she asks what mission was cleared. Without hesitating, Ein says it was the Dragon King of Rackle village. That leaves the receptionist stunned because the job was such a major one. She quickly says she'll bring the reward at once, and soon sets 4 heavy bags of gold on the table. Ein says nothing. The staff member explains that in missions like this, the reward shares of the dead go to the survivors. Since Ein is the only one left, all of it goes to him. She says it with obvious pain. At that point, Alka finally understands why his friend looked so down. Receiving the money meant for his dead teammates is torture for someone as kind as Ein. The receptionist then tells Ein to be careful, and once they leave with the reward, Alka asks what she meant. Ein tells him to imagine a team where family or friends join a mission, but only the leader comes back alive and takes the full reward. Then he asks Alka what people would think of that leader. Alka starts to understand, and the moment they step outside, the answer hits faster than expected. I never wanted to drag Alka into this, but now a crowd is waiting in front of them, ready to judge him. They throw the worst accusations at him. Still, it's the grief of the dead adventurers' families and friends speaking. As the team's leader, Ein says it's his duty to face their anger. He was the one who led the mission that ended with all his comrades dead. Because of that, no matter how much he regrets it, the truth won't change. While he stands there and takes it, the crowd demands that he explain why his companions were left to die. After hearing every accusation from the citizens and the families of the adventurers, Ein says he will accept full responsibility. He admits he couldn't save a single member of the squad, and that all of them died. The hatred around him pauses for a moment, but it quickly flares up again, because some people don't care how sorry he is. That team was made up of elite adventurers, so one family member shouts that there's no way they all died, to a level 150 dragon. Seeing that, Alka realizes something is off. The monster they fought was really a level 300 dragon king, so the defeat makes sense. He immediately speaks up and asks everyone to listen so he can explain. But Ein only thanks him for trying to help, and keeps taking the blame for his friends' deaths. He believes that if they had pulled back at once and evacuated with the villagers, things might have turned out differently. Alka tries to argue, but Ein won't hear it. Then someone steps in and says that's all nonsense. In his eyes, the leader let the others die on purpose so he could keep the whole reward. That finally pushes Alka forward, and he yells that Ein would never do that. Ein is shocked. The man snaps back, telling Alka to stay quiet because nobody wants to hear a foreigner speak. Alka fires back that he isn't some outsider. He's an adventurer who fought beside Ein against the Flame Destroyer, a level 300 monster. That makes even the grieving families hesitate, because if that's true, surviving at all is a miracle. The man still says it's nonsense, but after checking Alka's status, he realizes the boy is actually as strong as he is. Annoyed, he asks what kind of miracle a level 110 could possibly pull off against a level 300 monster. Alka says he has plenty. The man laughs, then turns serious and orders him to move aside. Alka refuses. The tension spikes at once, and the two clash. Their swords collide hard enough that the shock stirs the whole area. Then Ein shouts for Alka to stop, because he truly believes all of this is his fault. He couldn't save the friends he cared about, and now, because he was a failed leader, Alka is trying to fix his name by fighting for him. But Alka shuts all of that down. He admits the whole team really was killed, then strikes back at the bald man, and says that still isn't the full story. It was an accident nobody could have seen coming. Ein stayed with his team to the very end, even against an enemy far stronger than him. That's why Alka shouts that Ein has nothing to be ashamed of. He never abandoned his comrades. With one sharp blow, Alka knocks the bald man's sword away, and leaves him shaking from the damage he took in the duel. Then Alka asks how a man who cries this much for his fallen friends could ever be called a useless leader. He says he won't stop Ein if he truly wants to take responsibility for the team's deaths. But blaming himself for everything while letting people believe lies is wrong, because Alka wants everyone to know the truth. Ein was a leader who never ran, no matter how hard things got. With tears in his eyes, Ein asks why Alka is going this far for him, goes this far. Then holds out his hand to Ein now. Alka says it's simple, he's an adventurer who truly looks up to him. For him that's reason enough. In the middle of that emotional moment, the bald man gets furious, and tries something cheap. He secretly flicks a hidden knife at the two of them. The blade flies so fast that no one should have been able to react, until an old swordsman suddenly steps in and stops it. With his sword at the bald man's neck, the old man says he's been waiting for Ein to return. Alka stays ready, and aims his sword at the old man, thrown off by how scary he feels. But Ein moves him aside and explains that this is the top authority of the Sword of Salvation Guild. It's the guildmaster, Gilly, level 200. Alka still has no idea how to act, especially with the old man talking to him like he's mad. Then Gilly asks if this is the adventurer who protected Ein from the Black Dragon King. Everyone is shocked to hear that rumor might actually be true. Still looking annoyed, Gilly adds that he also knows Alka dealt with the fugitive Baldrith. That catches the hero off guard. Ein explains he had to report everything about that job to the guildmaster and central management. Baldrith had brought the monster close to death, but Alka was the one who destroyed its core. Since Baldrith was acting with bad intentions, the reward went to them. Gothyra had been away from Duramo for several days, handling a monster far away, and got Ein's report through magic while he was there. When he finally returned, he found a crowd of idiots, blaming the only survivor without even learning what really happened to the attack team. As for the grief and regret of the families and friends, Gothyra says he won't step into that. But he roars that being an adventurer means protecting peace, even if it costs your own life. Hearing that, Alka remembers what Ein now said while hugging the bunny. Gilly goes on, saying those warriors died doing exactly that. Taking someone else for it is an insult to every man and woman who risk their lives. And that leaves everyone quiet. In the end, the misunderstanding is cleared up, so Alka asks if Gilly is on their side. And Ein agrees, but warns that the old man isn't going easy on him. That becomes obvious when the scolding begins, because Gilly flat out declares that Ein is expelled from the guild. Alka is instantly furious over that, and Ein looks crushed. Even so, Gilly says a misunderstanding doesn't erase the boy's failure. An incompetent leader who got an entire team wiped out can't stay in Sword of Salvation, the most promising guild in Dorimo. After his first anger fades, Alka realizes this is the harsh standard of the strongest guild, and Ein accepts the decision without arguing. He only asks for one favor before he leaves, and Gilly allows it. Ein now wants to recommend Alka for Sword of Salvation. To Alka's surprise, the former leader openly praises him as a talented adventurer with real skill. Smiling, he says Alka doesn't need to worry about his future even if he's gone, and Gilly agrees. But then Alka loudly refuses. Ein now is left wondering why. Alka understands that Ein being kicked from Sword of Salvation may be unavoidable. Still, he says straight out that he doesn't want to join a guild that throws away good members like this. Trying to calm him down, Ein starts listing the perks Alka would get by joining, and reminds him that an adventurer needs a guild to keep working, so Alka asks if all he has to do is join a guild, and if that's true, then he'll just make one himself, so both of them can join. For a while, the two boys search around the city for a place, until they finally reach a building that can become the guild's headquarters. But instead of getting excited, both stare in shock at its condition. Alka even asks if this is really the place, and Ein answers with a smile that it is. For now, this will be their base. It's not just the starting point for our hero, but also a fresh start for Ein, who's genuinely happy that Alka chose to bring him into the guild, and Alka seems to feel the same way. The moment he said he'd start his own guild, Alka looked at Ein, who had just been expelled, and recruited him on the spot. Strange as it was, Gilly didn't stop it. Back in the present, Alka says he still has a lot to learn from Ein, so he asks him to teach him everything needed to become a great adventurer. The two shake hands, and a new chapter begins. Once they step into their new headquarters, Alka says the first thing they need to fix is this place. Ein reminds him it isn't even official yet, and they don't have any money either. He's already thankful they kept a small part of the reward. Most of the money from defeating the Flame Destroyer was given to the families of the dead adventurers, which had apparently been Ein's plan from the start when he went to collect it. That leaves the two with only a few gold coins. When Alka opens a cabinet, a huge cloud of dust bursts out around him, making him cough while Ein laughs. So Alka realizes something else comes first. He grabs a mop and a bucket of water, and the boys get ready to clean. Even for a simple job, they take it seriously. Ein tells Alka to be careful, but he's too late. Alka slips on the wet floor and lands flat on his back, with the mop smacking him on the head. Then, Alka just laughs at his own bad luck. After all, as long as he can use level draining, all he really has to do is fight. And honestly, a day like this doesn't seem so bad to him. Just then, two people arrive outside the guild, and suddenly swing open the gate while asking to come in, leaving both boys confused. To their surprise, it's the girls from Rakel village, Mil and Lila. Mil yells, asking how Alka could leave them behind, and Lila backs her up. The two girls press him for an explanation. Elsewhere, during the day, knights run in a panic because of an emergency. As they near the castle entrance, they shout for anyone who can help to rush to the west gate. One warrior even calls for the city guards, which leaves them confused, but the threat was already real, because a terrifying monster had appeared at the west gate with an army behind it. The creature looked a lot like a spider, and right in front of the guards, a local fighter who had been caught by the beast cries and begs for help, only to be killed on the spot and then eaten, the awful sounds alone terrifying the soldiers. That was the monster's first show of power, and with a roar from something bigger than the walls, it was clear this was only the start. Back at the new guild headquarters, the girls again demand to know why Alka left without saying anything. They want the full story. Alka starts trying to think of a good excuse, but then a knock at the door pulls everyone's attention away. It's an urgent warning about the giant monster at the west gate. A desperate warrior is calling for every free adventurer to come help. Alka calls to his friend, and once Ein hears what's happening, he says they need to go too. Alka turns to the girls and says he'll explain later why he left the village. For now he asks them to stay there and wait while he handles this crisis, because this will be his first job in the southern administrative city of Duramo. At that same time at the west gate, people are falling into despair at the sight of countless monsters. They had appeared outside Duramo out of nowhere. Led by a curse-type creature at level 210, that bald guy from before, Will, takes on level 20 skeletons and cuts them down with ease. The problem is the more he destroys, the more skeletons seem to keep coming. Even so, Will pushes forward with all his strength and wipes out another group in one strike. After that, he asks where Gilly is, and hears the old man is already on his way. Still, Gilly is taking too long, and at this rate the front line will collapse. Then Will feels the worst danger of all, because a giant monster appears right behind him. Even with fear creeping in, the bald man just laughs. Several energy circles form at once, leaving no chance to dodge. In the end, the monster's power corners all the soldiers and adventurers there. Will and the others get trapped by those spreading energy spheres, and some of them can't move at all anymore. Luckily, it isn't a killing blow, but Will realizes it's some kind of demonic curse. A strong one that starts by numbing the body and then corrupts the victim. A skeleton starts laughing, sure the battle is about to get easy. Barely able to feel his body, Will is disgusted that he might die to trash like this. But that never happens, because at the last second our hero arrives and destroys the threat, and steps in front of the adventurer. Using the armor skill, Alka absorbs the levels, and calls for Ein. Ein answers while cutting down a bunch of skeletons. Alka called him over to say he was about to start leveling up. He warned against that before, but this time they had no choice. In a flash, Alka wipes out more skeletons, takes their power, and climbs to level 250. With that done, Ein tells him to leave the weak monsters to him, saying he can handle them by himself. Alka gets it and lets more of his power out. That makes the monster roar, trying to show who's boss. This thing is a curse-spitting monster, and it's already infected a lot of the city's adventurers. Smiling, Alka leaps over it and says, now it's the beast's turn to be cursed. He even jokes that it's lucky, since it seems to love curses so much. In Daramu, over at the east gate, Gilly steps outside, giving off a huge aura. He heard monsters showed up at the west gate, but the noise at the east gate made him come check it out. There, he finds another giant monster nest, just like the one on the other side. Seeing a strong adventurer in front of it, the monster lets out a roar. Now a level 200 adventurer is about to clash with a level 210 curse monster. This copy has its own skeleton army too, soon it gets ready to fire all those same curses at the old man. Gilly praises it for going all out, even against a single opponent, but he also says that since it's facing him, that's just too bad, because no army it has will ever reach his level. Power surges from Gilly as he activates his epic skill, Descent of the Demons. The instant the monster charges him, he says they have 15 seconds left to live. Back at the west gate, while Alka jumps over the monster, he repeats that it really is lucky, then slashes straight into its head with his sword. Right now, Alka is level 250, and fighting a level 210 monster one-on-one. As he lands, he easily cuts off one of the creature's legs. Then the skeletons line up behind him for a sneak attack, but Alka notices them before they can move, dropping one with his sword and another with a kick. The last skeleton has its blade caught by Alka, who mocks it, saying the monster has nothing that can turn this fight around. If that was meant to be a real attack, it's pathetic. Then Alka absorbs the levels from all of them, shooting up to level 290 as the skeletons panic. The cursed monster roars in pain, and throws attack after attack at Alka, but he avoids every one. Then it fires off several curses, and Ein yells for Alka not to let those spheres touch him. He didn't need the warning. Alka drives his sword into the ground and raises a huge wall of light. With that up, none of the curses can reach him. Will, still unable to move, watches the fight in shock. To him it makes no sense that Alka is the same guy he fought earlier. At last Alka deals heavy damage to the monster, and it crashes face first into the ground. Standing close to its face, he asks if it enjoyed all the chaos it caused. It had already cursed so many people, so Alka says it doesn't need to answer. No matter what, it's dying here. With its last bit of strength, the monster's eyes dart around wildly, and to Alka's surprise, countless curses shoot up into the air. Alka says it can try all it wants, but it still won't hit him. The monster keeps laughing, because its real target was the people inside the walls. Unfortunately, Alka realizes too late that he dropped his guard. He quickly finishes off the monster, but the curses are still active, and heading straight for Daramu. Inside the walls, the citizens spot all those curses in the sky. That's when Alka realizes he missed the monster's real plan. After killing the cursed beast, and absorbing the armor owner's level, he reaches level 500, but Ein says the situation is still bad. The curse that monster used wasn't normal. It was a demonic curse, a special kind that's hard to remove. If it's not treated right, it can paralyze the whole body, and eventually kill the victim. Ein is sure many people in Daramu were already hit by that demonic energy. Alka asks if anyone in the city can break this curse, and Ein says yes. Still, even in the Sword of Salvation Guild, only 3 people can do it. That leaves Alka desperate, since the city is huge. Ein adds that those 3 are the only ones who can help at all. Just then, 2 warriors run up asking if everyone is alright. The first reaches out, and says he'll break the curse, while the second drops to help with his own power. The first calls for Manhwa, saying the curse is strong, but he can break it. Then another person shows up, saying they need to hurry because she won't let anyone die. This is Manhwa, a top mage from the Sword of Salvation Guild. Ein looks over the situation and realizes the three strongest people are all here. That means no help is coming from inside the city, and it worries him. Even spreading her power out, Manhwa can barely handle the curse on one person. Worse, even if it works, it will still take time. Even so, she knows adventurers can't just fight monsters. They also have to protect the people in the city. Then Alka fires a beam of light at will, and it completely covers him. Shocking, Manhwa. Alka knew that if he stood out anymore, the Calamity-class adventurers would notice him. Even so, he refuses to be the kind of adventurer who lets people die over something that small. The level conversion works, and he gains a new epic skill. It's called Golden Curse Break, a golden shot that wipes away curses. Now at level 350, Alka asks if he made the right call, and Ein tells him yes. With that settled, Alka raises his hand, and fires a stream of golden shots from every fingertip. Just like that, the curses on the nearby adventurers are removed. Manhwa can hardly believe such a deadly curse is breaking this easily. She asks who Alka really is, but he says they can talk later. There are still plenty of people suffering in Doramo, so he asks if she's coming with them or not. Manhwa agrees right away, and shouts that she'll join. Even by the pride of the strongest mage, Alka looks pleased by that, and another person joins his group. Once inside the walls, he sees how bad things really are. The curse has spread across the whole city, so Alka tells everyone to get moving right away, because he's going to save Doramo. He opens the Abyss armor window, and asks if the setup is ready. In the weapon request menu, he asks for Holy Wings, and pays the cost. Then he accesses the Sacred Sword, and completes the weapon conversion. At the same time, a blue flash appears in an instant, and Gilly comes out unharmed after crushing his side of the battle, despite the level gap. Before long, the old man reaches the gate and sees the whole mess. Sadly, the city has been covered by the demonic curse. Inside though, Alka is moving at full speed to save the people from this fate. Using the sacred sword, he spreads the power across an entire block. Manhwa goes to check on a citizen, and to her surprise, he says he's fine. That proves the demonic curse was fully removed, and she gets fired up. Inside her, Ein says too many people were hit by this. At this rate, no matter how hard Alka works, time will run out before he can save everyone. Sooner or later, people will die, so Alka keeps trying to cover as many citizens as he can. But even after all that effort, only a small part of the city is free, so he asks the armor if there's any way to spread his power farther. The system answers with a solution. It recommends the weapon converter, a function tied to level conversion. By paying level costs, an epic skills effect can be boosted through a special weapon. A window appears showing Alka's skill, which can combine Holy Wings with Curse Break. To get the weapon, he has to say the request phrase and activate weapons. So Alka summons his sacred sword and starts the weapon conversion, creating a fusion between the angel wings and the sword. With Golden Curse Break pushed to its limit, he points upward and orders it to destroy every curse. Sacred energy forms into an arrow, and following his command, races through the city, stopping at each person it reaches. This time, Alka's power covers all of Doramo. Because of that, his companions rush over to him. Mena asks if that really is a sacred sword. She wants to know if he's an adventurer, or maybe a saint. Alka shuts down that second idea, and says he's just an adventurer doing what he can to save the city. That leaves her stunned. Then Alka calls Ein over, because he needs to talk about what happened here. This time, he definitely pushed himself too far. Alka turns serious. Even if he saved the city, if this keeps up, everyone will start noticing him. Desperate, he asks Ein what he should do. But this time, the boy looks towards someone who might fix it, and quickly says they should ask Mena for help. A little later, outside an important building in the city, people start talking about what happened, and before long they're all excited, waiting for someone to come through the door. The second Mena steps out, the crowd reacts like an angel just appeared. One man can barely hide his grin when he sees the person they believe saved Doramo from the demonic curse. Now the citizens are calling Mena the Golden Saint, and even though they mean well, it embarrasses her so much that she lets out a scream. Earlier, at the Central Adventurers Management Council, Mena told them she was the one who cleared away the curses, just like Alka asked her to. Because of that, Alka stayed out of the spotlight, instead of becoming the city's savior. That was Ein's idea, have the mage take all the credit for lifting the curse. Mena pointed out that lying in a report to the Central Council really wasn't proper. Alka apologized, but since he truly had saved everyone in the city, Mena was glad she could repay him this way, and said she wanted to help, however she could. Ain says that's very noble of her, but then a noise outside cuts in, and he warns that people have come to see the golden saint who saved the city. Of course Mena yells that they should not call her that, but Ain insists this is important. Since she's already one of the city's top adventurers, her being the savior won't seem strange at all. That's why they need to make the strongest impression possible. If all of Doramo starts believing Mena is the golden saint who saved the city, then attention will stay off Alka. So for that plan, Ain declares they're going to put on a big show. Mena, completely confused, says nobody told her anything about a show, and Alka asks if his friend is really serious about this. Ain just smiles and says the hero's power can make everyone buy the story. Mena clearly didn't expect anything this huge, but Ain ignores that and grabs her by the arm. Once they're somewhere quieter, he explains that he wants to turn her into the golden light that saved the city. Alka would fire a bunch of golden anti-curse shots at her, wrapping her in a golden glow for a while. Even though the idea sounds almost too simple, Mena asks if that means she would be the one getting hit by the spell. Alka apologizes and says yes, but promises it won't harm humans. He adds that if she really hates the idea, he'll stop. Still, she already said she wanted to help, so Mena offers herself again and says she'll do whatever it takes. Alka asks if she's really sure, but when she doesn't back down, he simply thanks her. Wanting to honor that resolve, he says he'll do his best, then fires the spell, blasting her hat right off. And that's how, covered in Alka's golden curse-breaking magic, Mena stepped outside to receive the people's praise. At all, Ain asks if Alka can move the wings a little more to the left. Alka tells him not to be stupid, his powers aren't for things like that. Even so, he admits he's more and more convinced that Ain just loves messing around. Still, back to what matters. Alka thinks this should keep dangerous adventurers from focusing on him, but right then, Gilly shows up and apologizes for interrupting, leaving both boys speechless. Without wasting time, the old man says he wants to speak with Alka, and Alka asks what it's about. Gilly tells him to drop the innocent act, he should already know why. The old man wants to talk to the real person who saved Doramo from the demonic curse. A bit uneasy, Alka asks if he already knows. And after glancing outside, Gilly says he won't argue with their method. Most of Doramo may be looking at Mena because of the trick, but the adventurers at the West Gate won't be fooled. There were also plenty of members from the Sword of Salvation Guild there. Ain quickly asks him not to take what they did the wrong way. Gilly says he's not here to blame them, which makes Ain wonder what he actually wants. So without dragging it out, the old man asks if they knew what happened at the East Gate during all the chaos. Before things got worse, he had secretly sent a team there to handle it. Then he reveals that while the Cursed One attacked the West Gate, another force just as dangerous attacked the East Gate too. The boys ask if the city took any damage, but Gilly tells Alka to relax. He drove off the whole army at the East Gate by himself, and no one was hurt. Alka praises him, saying that's exactly what he'd expect from the master of the Sword of Salvation Guild. Even with all the city's adventurers pulled to the west, Gilly still held the east alone. Then Gilly gets back to the real issue. Since both sides were attacked at the same time, he believes someone is behind all of this, which worries the protagonist. Ain agrees, there were too many strange things about these attacks. That cursed creature was a monster he'd never seen before. Because of that, and out of concern about the curse, he asks the adventurers who fought beside him, but none of them knew what it was either. At least he doesn't think it's any beast that normally lives near the city. It's also suspicious that such a huge monster showed up out of nowhere without anyone noticing it. So the most likely answer is that someone summoned it near the site of the attack. That means someone used either an epic ability or magic to plan the city's destruction. And it means Doramo itself is the target. So if someone really aims to destroy the city, Gilly says they need even stronger defenses. That's why he came to Alka. Knowing all this, he says he needs the boy. He wants Alka to set up his guild in Doramo, as soon as possible, so they can work together with the Sword of Salvation. Mani points out that creating a guild takes a lot of procedures, but the old man says he already made a deal with the Central Management Council, so now he only needs two things from Alka. First, the boy must fight to prove he's worthy of becoming a guild master. Second, he just has to finish the first hard task he's been given. Gilly asks if Alka can do it, and of course the hero accepts the duel without hesitation. To Gilly, that's the perfect answer. At the Central Adventurer Council's training grounds, Gilly announces that they're about to fight. Usually they use practice weapons, but those won't show Alka's real strength. So this time it'll be real weapons and a real battle, with killing intent. To show he's serious, Gilly releases all of his power and tells Alka to come at him, the same way. Alka doesn't object, so out of respect for the test, he releases his power too, saying he understands. With the two now standing face to face, Ain raises his arms to signal it, and finally starts the duel. Gilly explodes forward like lightning, aiming for Alka's side, and attacks for real, hoping the strike won't actually kill him. Somehow, Alka blocks it, even though he's only level 100 now. While Gilly stands at nearly double that strength, looking at that gap alone, winning should be impossible, and Alka is sure the old man knows it. So this test probably isn't about who wins or loses, it's about whether he can still fight in his current state. And if that's true, Alka decides he'll prove he can. He rushes in at top speed with a shout. While Gilly stays completely focused, Alka swings with everything he has, but Gilly blocks it and sends the boy's weapon flying. With no other choice, Alka summons the sacred sword through weapon conversion. The new blade nearly clips Gilly, who barely dodges, and Alka uses that brief opening to close the distance and strike, but even the sacred sword gets knocked away. Still, Alka doesn't give up, because he still has his knives. One comes close to hitting Gilly, but once again the old man reads the move and dodges. No matter how many times Alka attacks. At last, Alka throws a knife from far away, and even that can't break through Gilly's defense. When the old man realizes it was only a feint, Alka suddenly vanishes from his sight. A second later, the boy shouts from above that this is all he can do against someone 100 levels stronger, then crashes down with a heavy blow that tears up the area. Ein is amazed, because no matter the level gap, Alka's skill as an adventurer has grown a lot in such a short time. After landing that strike, Alka is exhausted. It's the best he can do right now, so he hopes it was enough. But through the cloud of dust, Gilly starts to step out, badly hurt yet laughing at the whole thing. He admits that without the level gap, that last attack would have killed him. That's more than enough for Gilly to acknowledge Alka's strength as an adventurer, so Alka thanks him, but the test isn't over yet. The next part is Gilly's final attack, and Alka has to somehow survive it. The whole area trembles under that twisted bloodlust. Even Ein is shaken by it, because he's about to watch Gilly use that power up close. The old man activates the epic skill Demon's Descent, and his strength jumps way up. Before moving, Gilly tells the boy to brace himself with everything he's got. If he holds back at all, he says, he won't last 15 seconds. Alka still has no idea what Demon's Descent actually does. While he's trying to figure it out, Ein shouts for him to be careful. This skill doubles Gilly's level for about 15 seconds. Hearing that leaves the hero stunned. He quickly realizes what that means. The old man is now somewhere in the 400s. Gilly is thrilled. It has been a long time since he used this skill against an ally. Normally, what Alka showed already would have been enough to pass. But for these last 15 seconds, the old man wants to see how he handles this. In the end, Alka impressed him too much, and woke up the battle-crazy side of Gilly that wants a fight to the death. In a flash, Gilly closes in and kicks the boy right in the solar plexus. Alka barely even registers the pain, because a blinding blast sends him flying. He slams into a wall, and his friend's horror only grows as he keeps crashing through one thing after another, until Minna spots him outside and asks what in the world is happening. At this point, Gilly still has 10 seconds left in that demonic state, so he tells the boy once more to prove he can endure it. Gilly sets himself, then leaps at Alka after a single step. Alka's mind starts to blur, and he can barely remember what he was doing. With 8 seconds left, the old man is already right on top of him. Then, at 7 seconds, just when Alka is about to give up, two voices call his name. It is Lila and Mill, watching from outside the council. With 6 seconds left, Alka remembers, they attacked his base not long ago. Then Minna shouts for him too, and that helps him remember Gilly, suddenly showing up. With 5 seconds left, everything finally comes back. He chose to build a guild to protect the city, and that resolve pulls him back to his feet. With 4 seconds left, the two are about to collide. Alka swings his sword to keep Gilly back, but the old man keeps coming, wrapped in that dark demon aura, and thrilled to face a worthy opponent. Gilly says this is the result of his great ambition. All of it poured into his last move, the Black Demon Flash, the strike of the Sword of Salvation guild leader. Alka gets disarmed again, and admits he can't keep up with those movements. Still, if all he has to do is dodge, he says he has a plan. Using micro-explosion, he orders the sacred sword to self-destruct. Just as planned, the blade explodes the moment it meets Gilly's final attack. That weakens the blow a little, but Alka is still blasted away, and crashes hard to the ground. Face down, he asks the black armor to find an epic skill that can replace the sword left in the training hall, and another that can fix the saint's wings, but the system warns that using level conversion now is a very bad idea. Alka already knows that, but if he's going to keep fighting, he needs his sword. With no better option, he buys the weapon repair skill for 90 levels. Then he uses that conversion to restore his weapons, bringing back both the sacred sword and his katana. Now Alka calls out that so-called demon in Gilly, and tells him to come. With these two raging blades, he says he'll bring him down. Alka knew that if he could just last a few more seconds, he'd recover and keep fighting. But all at once, he drops in front of the old man, already passed out. Gilly stops there, since the 15-second test is finally over. Sometime later, Alka jolts awake in a panic, yelling about the test, until he notices he's back at his base, in bed, with everyone around him. Leela is the first to speak. She says she and Mill were out shopping when they saw him falling from the sky. Of course they were worried sick. Alka then remembers seeing them during the fight. Right after that, Mill says she's glad he's okay, though the whole thing scared them badly. Milan adds that she never expected the two of them to burst through the tower wall and land above them, so Alka apologizes for making everyone worry. Then the girl asks about the test. The old man answers right away. Alka passed. By the time he blacked out, Demon's Descent had already run out. And in those 15 seconds, with Gilly going all out, no other adventurer had ever survived with so little damage. That makes Alka really happy, but the second he tries to celebrate, pain shoots through him. Ein points out that the old man probably still has more to say. After that not-so-gentle pressure, Gilly finally speaks. He admits he let his blood get too hot and lost control of his skill, so he gives Alka a sincere apology. That comes after Ein made it clear that if anything had happened to Alka, it would have been Gilly's fault. Since Alka was the one who truly saved the city, the old man feels ashamed. Then, getting back on track, Gilly officially declares that Alka passed the first test. Once he rests enough, he'll be given the second one. Alka asks if that next task is a high-rank mission. Gilly says yes. It's in an underground ruin, a place known as the Atelier of the Ancient Witch. Mena reacts with surprise, clearly knowing the name. Gilly explains that it used to be a powerful witch's hideout, but now it's a graveyard of monsters. Alka asks what kind of monster they're supposed to subdue, but no one knows. Recently, a strange surge of magic has been detected inside the Atelier of the Ancient Witch. Because of it, monsters went mad and started attacking merchants on the road to the city. No one knows where that magic is coming from, but it's clearly not natural. Judging by its strength, they estimate a level 300 monster is behind it. Alka points out that's even stronger than the one from the village. Gilly says the ruin itself is so dangerous that no adventurer sent there has reached the bottom. Still, he believes Alka can bring back results, so the mission is clear. Investigate the Atelier of the Ancient Witch and defeat the monster causing the disturbance. That is Gilly's assignment, and he asks if Alka can handle it. Far away in a dark place, an alarm suddenly goes off. This sound echoes through a library, where only one person lives. A figure with skeletal hands. Everything points to this being the Witch of the Atelier. As more sounds draw near, she realizes someone is entering her domain again. And true to her possessive nature, anger rises in her, along with the urge to wipe out every intruder. In the eastern desert of Diramu, the protagonist realizes they have finally arrived. With Ein and Mina beside him, the group has reached Gilly's destination, the underground entrance to the Atelier of the Ancient Witch. A little later, while Alka gathers a few things, he asks if she's really sure she wants to come. He means Mill, and she says yes right away. She's now a newly certified level 10 adventurer. She got her license from the Central Administrative Council, so she could help him. As for why Alka left the village, she and Lila already heard it from Ein, so Mill tells him he's a good person. After all, he left on his own because he didn't want anyone else dragged into his trouble. But now, Mill wants to grow stronger, because she believes that's how she can stay by Alka's side, which catches him off guard. He points out that the Atelier of the Ancient Witch is way too dangerous for someone at level 10. Mill starts freaking out, confused about why Alka is talking like that when he's the same level. He brings up his absorption skill, but she says she has an epic ability too. So just like him, she needs experience to level up. And to get that experience, she has to take dangerous jobs, which Alka admits makes sense. Still, Mill truly believes that if she gets in trouble, he'll protect her. So Alka finally stops trying to talk her out of it. Cutting in, Ein asks if he's ready, Alka says yes. With that, the four adventurers head into the mission. Deeper inside the Atelier of the Ancient Witch, they reach the first layer. Mena, at level 120, can tell from the magic alone that this place is far from normal. Neen feels the same, and says Alka needs to regain his levels before the source of this power shows up. If that level 300 monster appears now, the whole group will be wiped out instantly. To be honest, Neen had hoped they would run into monsters on the way here. But after the fight with the Cursed One, most wild monsters in the area ran off. Then, the first enemy in the underground ruin appears. It's a level 50 Vanguard robot, with hammer-like hands. Alka gets excited. Finally, an enemy he can use to recover his power. Ein steps up and says they'll weaken it, so Alka can drain it. The machine attacks at once, slamming its heavy fists into the ground, hard enough to blast out a crater. That makes the hero shout to the rest of the group, but Ein tells him to stay calm. They're still top adventurers from Doramu, so this thing isn't a real threat. Mina moves above the robot, readying a spell, and laughs if it just spins its arms around. There's no way it's hitting her. Then her magic blasts off both of the robot's arms. That gives the protagonist the perfect opening to rush in and drain its levels. He sprints in at full speed, but the robot still has one more trick. At the last second, its head changes into a hammer too. If that lands, our hero gets flattened. Mill freaks out, knowing she has to save him. Instead of hesitating, she pulls her dagger and calls on her epic skill for power, Lightning Fong Quickstep. In an instant she appears behind the hero and slashes at the robot's hammer head. Alka gels in shock when he sees her shielding him, but the level gap is too big, and her blade can't break its shell. She gets blasted away and lands right on top of him. He thanks her, realizing Mill just saved his life, and that makes her smile. He didn't expect the robot's head to transform, but he still praises her skill. The robot gets even angrier and lunges at him for another hit. Alka slips aside and taunts it, saying a hammer that huge will never catch him. Still he can't finish it off. The level difference is too large, so he starts thinking of another way to kill it. From behind, Mina calls out that robots usually have an energy core inside. Alka asks how they're supposed to get through the armor, and AIM says it's simple, they just rip it off by force. So without wasting time, the boy warns everyone, things are about to get rough. As the robot attacks again, Mina smashes it right in the head and says she'll back him up. AIM gets in close, and with his bare hands he tears the armor open through the cracks. Alka made, revealing all its weak points. The core is finally exposed, and even though the robot is still moving, AIM shouts for the hero to hurry. Alka gets the message and rushes in, driving his sword straight into the core. It cracks, and the machine finally shuts down. With the win, he absorbs its levels, and climbs back to level 60. Alka is a little surprised he can even drain levels from a machine. Mina explains that this robot is really a magic-type monster controlling the puppet. An automaton runs on magical power and can move on its own. It's basically an artificial life form made with magic, which makes it easier for him to understand. Just then, Mill warns everyone. 2 more robots are coming. Now that he's back at level 60, he charges in, finally able to fight for real. On his very first strike, he knocks one robot into the other. The blow cracks one of them, so he instantly drives a dagger into its core. That pushes the Abyss Armor's owner up to level 110. Then the second robot attacks, but Saint Wings activate and bring out the Sacred Sword, letting Alka block with ease. He says there's no need for cheap tricks anymore. With no trouble at all, he knocks away its hammer arms and destroys it in one hit. That raises the armor's owner to level 160, way higher than when he entered the cave. Then a sudden sense of danger hits him. Several projectiles are flying his way. Manhwa jumps in front of him, blocks them, and scolds him, telling him not to drop his guard. A second wave of robots has arrived, and unlike the first group, these enemies come in greater numbers and carry heavier weapons, all meant to wipe out the detected hostiles. These robots are level 52, but they're a different type called Assault. Following orders, they start the attack. Mena throws up a magic barrier to protect all 4 of them. Each one is low level alone, but together they're much more dangerous. Some kind of command signal reaches the assault units, warning that the targets are high level. That means everyone has to stay sharp. In the middle of the chaos, Ian points out a safe path, and the group takes off down a long corridor without looking back. But because of the level gap, Mill gets tired before the others. When the enemies start closing in, the protagonist steps in so she can keep running. Facing the robots, Alka activates weapon conversion, and with his 2 strongest blades, he starts batting away the incoming shots. He doesn't just knock them aside, he sends some back and slices apart the rest. Drawing all the robots' attention, Alka confidently asks if they really think they can beat him, just because they outnumber him. That seems to annoy whoever is controlling the automatons. So one robot opens up its abdomen. To Alka's surprise, a huge energy cannon comes out. Its core starts gathering a massive amount of power, and even caught off guard he keeps his cool because when the beam fires, he barely manages to dodge, sending it into another area, though it takes everything he has. Then another blast nearly hits Alka, forcing him behind a pillar. But the robots start destroying every place he can hide. The group finally stops running, when they see what's beyond the next gate. As soon as Alka catches up, he asks why they've stopped when the robots are still coming. If they stay here they'll be trapped. But the answer is simple, they've reached a dead end. Alka panics, and the first robot gets ready to fire. Luckily Mosho notices in time, and throws up another barrier. Even so, the monsters keep moving closer and closer. Mosho steps in front of everyone, holding them off with her barrier, but she's starting to get overwhelmed. And those abdominal energy cannons make things even worse. Desperate, Mosho warns that she can't hold much longer, so Alka decides he has to go out and fight them head-on. Alka stops him, warning that at his current level he won't survive. That leaves one big question: how are they supposed to escape? Then the protagonist steps on a strange spot, and purple energy wraps around all four of them. At the same time several magic circles appear on the ceiling. As a high-level mage, Meina instantly realizes it's a magic trap. Before anyone can react, the floor gives way, and Alka's group drops into a pit. While falling, he notices the ground didn't just collapse, someone made this hole on purpose. So it's obvious now, whoever is behind this place has been hunting the intruders. Then, unexpectedly, the assault robots jump into the hole too, and one of them throws a punch at the protagonist. He knocks it away, sending it crashing into the wall. Right after that, another robot starts firing projectiles at him, while the strongest one charges its beam again from the center of its body. Alka can't believe they're still chasing them even now, and in mid-air, dodging properly is almost impossible. That's when Aang shouts for him to use his free right hand. Before Alka can even figure it out, Aang is already telling Meina to blast him with wind magic. It's not done that he'd ask for that, but then she gets it, and warns him she's going all out. So she unleashes a huge wind spell straight at Aang. Instead of hurting him, it launches him upward, letting him reach the hero. Grabbing his hands, he spins and hurls Alka toward the robots. Aang yells that the rest is up to him, and Alka gets it. He immediately cuts the first robot in half with the sacred sword. The explosion blinds the other two. Now he's above them, and their shots are coming from below. Alka tells them to stay still, and fires something that pierces both of them. A second later, those robots explode beneath him too. That quickly sets off a chain reaction, and after absorbing them both, Alka reaches level 360. Now that he's this strong, he thinks he can finally face the strange magic source in this place. Mill warns that they're almost at the bottom of the pit. Meina says it's time to move, and uses wind magic to soften the fall. The three land safely, or they would have, if not for the explosion right behind them from Alka. His level rose too fast, so he can't control his power well yet. Meina just laughs, saying they probably don't need to worry about Alka's strength anymore. Mill asks where they are, because it's too dark to see anything. Right after she says that, candles all around the hall suddenly light up. As the group tries to figure out what's going on, a pile of materials on the ground starts gathering into one place. From it, the same witch as before appears, mumbling about intruders. When asked why she wants to kill them, her answer is simple. She does it because her soul only wants one thing, to kill. Alka stares in disbelief and asks if it's an automaton, but the moment and checks its status, he screams for everyone to be careful. This isn't a normal monster. Then the witch activates her annihilation protocol, switching into Velgadia mode. With a terrifying laugh, she transforms into a horrifying puppet-like beast, tearing off her own clothes and growing to twice her size. Ainoin instantly realizes this is the abnormal magic source down here. What he didn't expect was that it would be 100 levels above what they predicted. This puppet beast is called Broken Wisdom, and it's just as insane as it looks. It rushes at the hero, trying to kill him. 30 years earlier, this desert used to have a river and a little patch of green. There, an old woman found a basket with a baby inside. She stopped and wondered if someone like her should really take in a child. For 80 years she had devoted herself to chasing the truth of magic, gaining great knowledge of spells, but learning almost nothing about people. That day, she thought those who reached true wisdom were fools too. They gave up everything just to climb to the end of one path. So she guessed the baby's parents had thrown it away for their own reasons. If she had not found it, the child likely would have died out there, and maybe that was supposed to be its fate. Then the baby started crying, and the old woman began to question what she believed. A child that helpless could not just be abandoned. If an old witch raised it, people would surely avoid the child. Even so, since the baby clearly wanted to live, the witch brigadier decided to care for it. After only a moment, she chose the name Mu-Remo. That made the baby smile, and the old witch smiled too. But in the present, that kind witch is gone, and the puppet charges in like a mad killer. Its only goal is to wipe out the intruder. Luckily, he can dodge. As the fight goes on, the monster grows even more unstable, and each fist carries a different aura. The second the hero moves in, one hand casts fire and cuts off his path. Before he can react, another nearly cuts Alka with a sword swing. All those hands move at once, mixing magic with sword skills. Leaping over him, the puppet forms fake kunai with one hand. But Yoyu steps in just in time and raises a barrier that shields everyone from the barrage. The monster answers by summoning a beast with dark magic, sharp teeth, and enough force to break the barrier, pushing the mage to her limit. Then it coats its sword in ice and swings with full power at the group. To stop it, Alka calls on Ein for help, and even though it's close, they barely manage to block the strike. The puppet screams, asking what killing even means, and the hero snaps back that it attacked them first. Merlin is shaken because she has no idea what this thing is. Yo-Yu feels the same. No puppet should be able to use magic like this, no matter its level. While they fight, Ein forms a theory about what's going on. About 10 years ago, an old witch lived here, and could use many kinds of magic. Ein heard she died naturally, but maybe she stretched her life with magic first. Going by his instincts, this automaton is not some ordinary monster. It may be the old witch herself, her soul, or maybe her spirit. Working together, they throw the puppet back and buy a little time to think. Alka asks if the old witch was really this dangerous, but Ein says no. People in the area were afraid of her, yet no one ever reported her hurting anyone directly. Then the robot suddenly starts writhing as electric shorts run through its body. Ein points out that the automaton holding the soul seems to be falling apart. That should make this the perfect moment to strike, but dozens of ice walls suddenly rise. The robot uses them to move at incredible speed, and gets close enough to Ein that he instantly regrets what he just said. 18 years earlier, in the old witch's workshop at night, the library stood empty. But the house was still busy. Inside, Marimo was building a robot under the witch's watch. Brigadier was surprised that the girl cared so much about something so strange, but Marimo thought it made sense. Her normal magic could never beat her master. Brigadier told her that if she kept learning, one day she might reach the same level. Still, Marimo found that path boring, so she chose to focus on automatons instead. The witch never seemed interested in that field, but she let the girl follow her own ideas. Her goddaughter should choose her own life. 10 years ago, when Marimo was older, the dying witch asked her not to shout. Marimo was desperate, and set on finding a way to move her soul into an automaton. She was only one step away from saving her mother, but that final step still felt far out of reach. Brigadier told her it was fine, and that she did not need to keep researching for her sake. The witch's death was natural, and Marimo still had a future ahead of her. She only prayed something wonderful would come to the girl, because Marimo had always meant well. Back in the present, the puppet charges again, wild and bent on killing the intruders. The young adventurers pull back to avoid getting hit, but one of them cannot retreat fast enough. Merlin ends up face to face with a level 400 monster. The hero panics the moment it prepares to strike. Without thinking, he jumps in front of Merlin and takes the full hit, and both of them are sent sliding across the library floor. Alka struggles to stand, leaving the mage deeply worried, and Ein stops her from getting closer. But that still isn't enough, because when she nears one of the ice walls, a surprise attack bursts out from inside and hits her head-on. Yu is thrown back by the impact, and Ein is alarmed, but he has no time to focus on that. Now he is the puppet's final target, and every dodge just brings another attack. The assault is relentless, though its arm swings look messy and uncontrolled, so he thinks he can find an opening, until a kick suddenly flies at him. He never saw it coming, and gets hit clean. The blow sends him crashing into a bookshelf. Lying there hurt, the hero knows that at this rate, all of them will die, so he forces himself back up to fight again, drawing the monster's attention. Then they rush at each other, both yelling from the heat of the battle. This time, Alka lands the first hit, but he notices something terrifying. The puppet gathers a huge amount of energy, and keeps going even after being wounded. But instead of aiming at the hero, it slams the ground around itself, hitting its own body in the process. A massive blaze erupts around the puppet, and it comes out of the flames badly damaged. Even so, that only scares Alka more. He realizes the monster does not care what happens to itself. Even while its body melts from the heat, it still keeps coming like a beast with no mind left. Seeing that, the hero knows random attacks will never work. He has to pierce the monster's energy core directly. The problem is, he still has no idea how to pull that off. Still burning, the monster rushes him with a storm of punches, and even though it moves awkwardly, getting close is still hard. On top of that, more of the automatons that chased them earlier show up. Since all of them are focused on the protagonist, Alka sees a chance. He needed more levels anyway, so with one strike, he destroys every robot that appeared, and absorbs their levels, reaching 560. Now fully focused, Alka asks the Abyss Armor to find an epic skill that can limit the enemy's movement. The search finishes, and offers Crown's Bind, a skill that traps one weaker target with black spears for 150 points. The monster charges to attack again, but this time, the hero activates the new skill. Even though the beast is rushing in fast, its level is 400, and Alka's is now 410. He declares that the strong wear the crown, while the weak bow before the king. Then, Alka shouts, "Crowns bind," ordering the puppet to stop, and black spears burst from the ground in huge numbers, piercing the robot's body until all it can do is scream. 10 years ago, Miramu had finished her final project. The only thing left was moving her master's soul, because she still had not found a normal way to do that. So she chose the forbidden technique the witch had taught her. To Miramu, even an automaton body would be enough, as long as her master stayed alive. Sadly, she could not remain there either. Still, all that mattered was that the ritual was ready. When her master's life ended, the soul would automatically move into the automaton. With that, the girl said goodbye, hoping that even if she herself was swallowed by evil, her master would at least find happiness. Back in the present, screaming in rage and despair, the monster struggles to move, tearing apart its own body as it does, but they already know it does not care about itself, so it manages to break out of the trap. Seeing that, the hero uses the skill again, this time watching the puppet's reactions very closely. The monster refuses to stop and tries once more to break free, forcing the protagonist to reinforce Crown's bind again. All the while, the puppet keeps insisting it must exterminate the intruder. So the hero asks why it is so set on killing them. For some reason, that question finally makes the robot stop and think about whether killing is really its true purpose. It realizes the answer is no, but the loss of control inside the puppet is stronger than it can bear. With Alka's shock, it tears off some of its own arms to break loose, then charges again. Completely insane and ready to destroy any living thing in front of it. Realizing the puppet will never stop, the hero has no choice but to use his skill one last time, driving it through the robot's chest. At last, the witch's soul remembers that its real purpose was simply to protect this place. That one day, that child would come back. With that, Alka smashes the puppet with one final heavy blow, dropping it to its knees. And even at the very end, the last piece of the witch's soul whispers Miramu's name. Only then does the protagonist understand, he really won. But right after that, a glowing orb rises from the robot's remains. The hero stares at it, wondering what it is, and in the next second it shoots toward a half-open door. It leads to a hidden passage, Alka never noticed before, so he decides to check it out. Before he can though, his level absorption skill activates, pulling in all the power from the wrecked machine into his body. Alka had never felt strength like this before, but the feeling doesn't last. Because the moment his level reaches 810, a sharp pain throws him to the floor. It's so bad it seems the sudden level gain is tearing him apart. As he cries out, energy stronger than ever bursts from him. Taking in that many levels at once badly damages the armor owner's body and mind. So the system recommends an emergency feature called storage, and waits for the owner's approval. But he can't respond, so it shouldn't have been able to activate yet. This time the system makes an exception, and briefly unlocks the authority needed. Then the Abyss armor creates storage on its own command. All that power pushes the protagonist close to madness, so the system orders 400 levels into storage. It happens with a single command, stripping that extra power away and moving it into a space inside the armor. After that Alka collapses, and when he comes to, he asks if the armor saved him. It replies that once it confirmed the owner's intent, the new function activated. Since he was barely conscious, he accepts that answer. Then Alka asks what storage really does. The armor explains that it lets him save levels and take them back out whenever he wants. This time, storing 400 levels stopped his power from running wild. So now, instead of absorbing every level at once, he can stash them away. If he uses that well, he won't draw attention in the city. Still, if his level jumps too high, things can spiral out of control like they just did. The armor guesses it happened because the boost came too fast, so with practice he may avoid going berserk. Hearing that, Alka says he should train and get used to higher levels. Just then, fast footsteps rush closer, and the whole group runs in to see if he's okay. Mel looks the most shaken after hearing that awful scream. He tells them he's fine, and more than that he's just glad everyone made it out safe. That alone is enough to lift everyone's spirits. Then the protagonist brings up the strange light that came out of the old witch's automaton. After he beat it. As for where it went, he says it vanished behind the door ahead. A little nervous, Mel asks if they should go look, and Maina says yes. If that light was the old witch's soul, the danger may not be over yet. So the four adventurers head for the door to uncover the truth. Since he's the strongest one there, the protagonist takes the lead and opens it. What they find on the other side, though, is a bright, peaceful place full of greenery. It even makes the hero wonder if they're still underground, and Mo Xiao Bei guesses the old witch created it with magic. And even Maina admits she's never seen anything like it, which fits the strongest witch of all. Mel wonders where that soul went, but then spots a house sitting far away. It looks suspicious enough to draw everyone's attention. Before they can head over, a hole opens above them, and to everyone's surprise, another armed robot drops in at once. The machine calmly tells the group to put away their weapons, raising its own blade, and saying it wants to avoid pointless fighting. A bit confused, the protagonist asks it to do the same, but the robot says it can't because the blade is part of its arm. Then it adds that it never meant to be rude to its benefactors. To explain, the machine introduces itself as Brigadia, the old witch the world cast aside, whose soul the adventurers just freed. Continuing her introduction, the witch says she's just an old woman too stubborn to die. The hero talks with her briefly about everything that's happened so far. In the end, the witch apologizes for the chaos, since that last body had lost control. Mel gets curious about where this new body came from, and the witch explains it was a prototype automaton, an experimental model left in storage all this time. Apparently when the hero destroyed the first one, another forbidden spell triggered. That surprises Mena and the protagonist. She explains it's called the forbidden magic of the 100 rejected by the witch, a name for powerful spells no normal mage would ever use. The protagonist asks if that magic is really active, and sadly the robot says yes. More exactly, it was forbidden spell number 95, which gives peace to a soul with no body. Because of it, even if the witch dies inside the workshop, her soul will automatically move to another body it can use. Mena notices Brigadia doesn't seem happy about surviving this way, so she asks why the witch doesn't just cancel the spell. The answer is simple, she can't. A third party can never undo this forbidden spell. Then, clearing up the misunderstanding, the witch says she never would have used magic like this herself. She's not the caster at all, she's the victim of it. Now even more curious, Mena asks who cast it, and the witch sadly reveals it was her disciple, Manhwa. The girl couldn't accept her death, so she used a spell that twisted even the laws of nature. In the end, the witch calls her disciple a fool, and asks them to forget about her, because soon she'll meet the girl herself and settle it. But there is still another problem. Manhwa never had the skill or knowledge to use forbidden magic, which means some man must have talked her into it. In return for teaching her, he likely made her build combat automatons. His name is about to come out, when the man suddenly appears and introduces himself as Valma Fordin, leaving the hero stunned. Valma says ordinary mages hate people who break the rules of the world, but forbidden users celebrate, because he embraced everything magic can offer. With killing intent in his eyes, he claims that people and even his own desires are all meant to destroy without mercy. Then Valma introduces himself again, this time as a forbidden spell user, blessed by the god of evil. The witch can hardly believe the one behind all of this is standing before her. To her Valma is a greedy man with no right to enter her domain. So Brigadia declares that she won't let him leave, and will make him regret this. With that, the witch sends out an emergency order to every automaton nearby. But when Valma hears she's calling her robots, he asks if she means those piles of metal trapped inside his magic. That shocks everyone. While Valma looks thrilled, then, without hesitation, he destroys all the robots in an instant. Going cold again, he asks if they should move on to the real issue, because he came here to end the Elder Witch Brigadia for good. Faced with that threat, the witch only looks angrier. Now it's clear Manhwa wasn't controlling the forbidden magic at all. Valma was, and he confirms it himself, saying the girl only carried out the spell he began. That means he alone can break it. In other words, he's the only one in the world who can kill her. Valma almost trembles with joy when the witch realizes the trap she's in. Laughing, he says that with a single order from him, she can lose the protection of that forbidden magic. He points his staff and declares that the moment this Tian body breaks, the witch's soul will disappear forever. Brigadia asks why he waited until now to come kill her. After all, she sees no gain in murdering an old woman. Valma says that when he first cast the spell, he truly didn't plan to kill her. But 10 years later, things have changed, and now he's putting a grand plan into motion. He reveals that soon, a flood of shining blood will spill in the great city south of Daramu. That shocks both the heroes and the old witch. Valma says he's doing this because he doesn't want some justice-loving old woman getting in his way, since even now she's still one of the strongest witches in the city. At last, Alka steps in and asks if that makes Valma his enemy. Valma says yes. That answer is enough for the protagonist to rush in and attack at once, saying that's all he needed to hear. The sudden move catches the sorcerer off guard, but he still blocks at the last second, and the impact forces both of them back. No matter what the villain is planning, the protagonist says he doesn't care. If Valma threatens the people of Daramu, he won't let it happen. A clash is about to begin between the level 500 sorcerer and the level 410 adventurer. Only now does Valma realize who he's facing, because he never expected to find someone here as strong as the witch, and that unexpected obstacle may ruin the villain's whole plan. But instead of panicking, Valma enjoys it. He's glad he found out the hero exists. Now that he knows about this unexpected problem, he sees the protagonist as nothing but a plaything, and proves it by tossing Alka aside with ease. With the hero down on the ground, Volma walks up and says he doesn't even need forbidden magic to kill him, but then and suddenly shows up, ruining that plan. Since the sorcerer had somehow forgotten about the others, surrounded by these new enemies, Volma stops to judge the situation, and realizes he's clearly at a disadvantage, even with his high level. So for now, he opens a portal, and says he needs to handle something first. He openly admits he's backing off, because if he stays any longer, the blood ritual could be delayed. Alva asks what he means, but the others seem to get it, and they look terrified. Before leaving, Volma warns that if the boy really wants to protect Dorimo, he should hurry back home. It won't be long before his followers start causing chaos there. In the southern administrative city of Dorimo, people are going about their day like usual. No one seems worried, and to anyone looking in from outside, the city feels calm and peaceful. Watching the citizens from above, Volma looks down on their normal lives, and says it's a shame, because that peace ends today. The moment a blue-haired boy parts ways with his friends and steps into an alley, evil energy takes him over, and he begins the first stage of the blood ritual. That sight makes Volma laugh, like he's losing his mind. Right after that, more lights start appearing across the city. Each one marks a spot controlled by one of his subordinates, all carrying the same order to kill everyone. Then, without warning, an explosion goes off, and the purpose of it all is to bring the evil god into the world. At that same moment, a bond wrapped around the old witch's soul snaps. Along with part of her core, the pain drops her to her knees, making the hero panic. But she tells him not to worry, Volma had already altered her curse. So if this body breaks again, she won't be able to avoid death anymore. Still, the witch says this is to be expected, and the curse's effect only works inside her workshop. Her old body had a command built into it that kept her from leaving. This new body is different. Now she can finally go outside, which makes that part of the curse useless. More importantly, they need to focus on the sorcerer's plan. Nell gets scared after remembering Volma said his followers would attack Duramo, and from what the witch knows about him, that doesn't sound like a bluff. So Ein says they need to return to Duramo right away to stop this planned assault. Even so, the city is far away, and leaving now still won't get them there in time. To fix that, the witch asks if the adventurers forgot who she is. As Volma himself said, even in death she's still the great ancient sorceress everyone once feared. Back in Duramo, things have already gotten far worse in just a few minutes. A man lying on the ground begs Volma's followers for mercy. But one of the black-cloaked figures in a spiral mask walks up, using dark magic. No matter how much the man begs, he seems to meet a brutal end at the sorcerer's hands. His scream is so loud that even Leela, far from the center of the attack, hears it. When she steps outside, she finally notices the sky looks different. Sadly, her curiosity becomes a mistake when one of the evil mages appears. Calling her another sacrifice, he starts chanting a spell and leaves the girl crying as she's about to lose her life. Her suffering is meant to play a key part in bringing the evil god into the world. Luckily, the protagonist appears just then, and smashes the sorcerer's mask with one punch, sending him flying into a wall. Alka shouts at Leela when he sees another spell coming, but Mana steps in just in time to block it. She says that even if it's forbidden magic, a weak user can't make it too dangerous. With everyone watching, Leela thanks them with all her heart, and the hero is relieved they got there in time. The witch says they were right to worry about Volma. If they had killed her in her old robot body, she cuts off the formal talk and tells them to skip it. After everything they've been through, they're already companions. All through this disaster, the attackers have been cruelly targeting helpless citizens. That's why Gilly shows up, saying he could never ignore this, and quickly cuts down 3 of Volma's subordinates. He saves the person who looked trapped, and the citizens rush to hide in the city's guild. So far the enemies he's beaten were only around levels 80 to 100. But he knows fighters that weak couldn't cause this much chaos on their own. Then, the one behind it all appears, clapping his hands and praising the leader of the Sword of Salvation. The moment Gilly realizes this is the mastermind, his anger explodes. As usual, Volma only enjoys seeing that rage. He confirms Gilly's guess and says he's the leader of the blood ritual. Since the guild leader still doesn't seem to get it, Volma explains that his goal is to make humans suffer as much as possible, kill them and gather all their cries, pain and curses into their bodies. With enough blood, he says, forbidden magic can be used to summon the evil god. That's the true meaning of the blood ritual. Since Volma is here, the old man asks if he was also the one behind the cursed monster's appearance. The sorcerer has to think for a second to remember, because to him that was just a side summon to test the city's strength. Then he thanks the old man, because now he knows no one there is stronger than him. That makes this city the perfect place to begin the blood ritual. Gilly understands at once, and starts letting his power out. With energy burning in his eyes, he declares Volma made the wrong choice and activates his ultimate skill, Demon's Descent. Even then Volma just laughs at him. The old man's level is still lower than his. So Volma pulls a weapon from a spatial rift and releases an aura to match, claiming no one can reach his power. But the old man simply says reinforcements will be here in 15 seconds. Volma has no idea what he means, but he doesn't get time to figure it out. Alka suddenly requests 190 levels from storage. Once the command is approved, his level jumps into the 600s. Then Gilly charges from the front, and before Volma can react, Alka is already behind him, ready to strike. Not far from there, Ein fights in anger and cuts down several cultists with ease. As an adventurer who believes in justice, he can't stand seeing people sacrificed, but he also knows he isn't strong enough to save everyone. That's exactly why he's so furious at his own weakness. Another adventurer yells at him, not to freeze up. It's Will, and if Li Yinqing wants the same thing he does, the bald man says there's only one answer, keep fighting without stopping, until they grow stronger. Yang can only agree, smiling honestly, so the two team up, each guarding the other's back. Taking Will's words to heart, they keep doing their part against the sorcerers. A little later, Will asks about that guy in black armor. Yang answers with hope in his eyes, saying that boy is fighting in a place far beyond their reach right now. Back at the protagonist's fight with Volma, the sorcerer is caught off guard when an attack stronger than expected comes at him. With a shout, the hero signals the old man behind him, and Gilly instantly knows it's his turn. He wastes no time, and unleashes his demonic black flash. Instead of looking trapped, Volma grins wide. He gives an order and activates forbidden technique number 74, spreading his life out as a guiding function. That command pulls all of his subordinates to his location, and they suddenly start giving off a huge aura. Yi Yu steps back, and the hero is left staring, not sure what's happening. Volma calmly explains that this forbidden technique uses his followers' lives as sacrifices to block any attack. Losing subordinates may be inconvenient, but to him, anyone weak is disposable. The sorcerer also notices that the protagonist's level has risen a lot in a short time, so he realizes leaving him alone earlier was probably a mistake. Even so, the old man doesn't waste a second of his skill and keeps trying to attack however he can. Gripping his sword with both hands, Yui swings with another powerful strike, but the level gap keeps it from landing. That's when he fully understands how troublesome that forbidden technique really was. Still, he notices the sorcerer apparently can't use those spells back to back, and Volma's expression seems to confirm it. So the protagonist rushes in at full speed, hoping to take him down before he can use that trick again. Volma senses the danger, and retreats at once. The hero then asks the old man to work with him, so they can bring the enemy down together. The two burst forward like flashes of light, using the demonic black technique at the same time to finally finish off the evil sorcerer, who's now cornered. Volma reacts in panic and throws up a barrier to stop the attack from the two. A clash of power begins as both sides push to overpower the other. Now it's a question of what breaks first, the barrier, or the adventurer's strength. Soon, a small crack appears, and then the whole barrier shatters, even slicing Volma with the fragments. He's knocked to the ground by the impact, and dragged through buildings as he skids across the area. For the first time in this fight, the sorcerer is bleeding badly, and clearly wounded. Even so, Volma starts laughing because blood excites him, no matter whose it is. The hero levels his sword at Volma, standing with Gilly. He warns that as long as they're here, Volma won't get another move off. Volma just bursts into laughter again. He had planned everything so carefully, never thinking a few wild cards would stop him. He even admits he badly underestimated the adventurers. Still, he says there isn't enough blood yet, and in his current state he can't keep taking it from the citizens. So Volma switches to plan B. It isn't ideal, and it needs the rest of his followers. That shocks the adventurers, but he says he has no other way to gather enough blood. Magic flares in Volma's eyes as he starts another forbidden spell. As he names the offering, hundreds of energy blades appear above his men. This spell is a cry that leads only to death, and with his sorcerers as the price, Volma can keep the plan moving. The blades send out a shockwave, driving the sorcerers mad. While their old leader shakes with joy, they're slaughtered one after another to complete the ritual. The adventurers are sickened, but Alka realizes Volma is making up for the missing blood by using his own allies' lives. Even then, it still isn't enough, but he decides not to be too greedy. With a gesture, he calls his staff back to his hand. The protagonist rushes in, shouting that Volma's done doing whatever he wants. Volma fires back that he should have finished him when he had the chance. Now the sorcerer has enough life force to evade him, and the moment he's waited for finally begins. All the pains, screams, and blood of everyone will now become one in this ritual. With one command, the citizens' fluids begin rising toward the staff, and before Alka or Gilly can stop it, the blood swirls around the crystal. Seeing it work only makes Valma more excited. Laughing again, he throws off his cloak and offers his own blood to complete the summoning. If it helps now, then none of his wounds were for nothing. A light blooms inside the crystal on the staff, then bursts outward like a flower, pouring out unbelievable energy. This stone was what Valma had been seeking for a very long time, and from all this chaos, it is revealed as the crystal of sad blood. With that power in hand, Valma declares this city useless to him now. He says he'll return to the altar and activate the greatest forbidden technique in history, then finally revive the evil god that will descend to earth. Alka charges with everything he has, and their blades crash together. Furious, the hero demands to know what Valma plans to do with that god. Valma answers that when a god is called through a forbidden spell, it must obey the one who summoned it. That means the divine being's massive power will belong entirely to him. With that, Valma pulls back, saying he'll retreat for now. The protagonist drops to the ground as the sorcerer moves farther away. Before leaving, Valma sees the hero's determined stare and says he can chase him if he wants. But if he does, he'll learn why that was a warning. Then Valma snaps his fingers and nearly vanishes. Alka swears he won't forget this, but the sorcerer is already gone, and by the light's guidance, the old man says the place Valma is heading really would fit a massive forbidden ritual. So he quickly tells the protagonist that he's figured out the enemy's stronghold, which catches the hero off guard. It's in the far western desert of Diarmo, at a sacred graveyard once used to honor ancestor spirits. Now the place is deserted, and known as the Mausoleum of the Palms. Gilly admits they couldn't beat Valma by themselves, so he wants to form a pursuit team right away. But he knows the Sword of Salvation can't handle this alone. The protagonist is already level 500, far beyond the human limit of 250. And if even that power struggles against Valma, who seems to be in the 600s, then Gilly knows he wouldn't stand a chance beside him. So the old man asks whether the protagonist finished the extermination request, and Alka says yes. Gilly then announces that he'll approve the boys' new guild. With that, they should get wide support from the Central Management Council. He also vows that the Sword of Salvation will fight with everything they have. Even if Valma's followers block the way, they'll cut through them so Alka can advance, because he will be the one to defeat their leader. The protagonist listens to all of it, and accepts at once. Then the old man asks if he's picked a name for the guild yet. Turns out the protagonist never even thought about that basic part. Alka says nothing comes to mind, so the old man asks to offer a suggestion. Gilly explains that Alka is their light of hope. He says the boy's friends have probably already seen that hope shining from the hero in black armor, and not just the friends he has now, but the ones he'll join later too. So with all that in mind, the old man names the new guild Blackstar Hope. Far away, Muramu sits beside a lit lantern, lost in thought. When she looks up, still a little down, a giant mutant wolf with machine parts sits with her like an ally. By then, word had already reached her that a group of adventurers was coming. So she stands, and even though she doesn't feel like it, she orders them to wipe out every intruder at once. Meanwhile, someone keeps walking toward the altar. After the long road to summon the evil god, today will decide his fate. Valma takes out the crystal of sad blood, to use as the sacrifice, and all he needs now is the summoner, himself, to begin the ritual. The only problem is that full manifestation will take time, but Muramu says they're ready to hold the adventurers back, while Valma focuses on the forbidden spell. Hearing that, he shouts with delight and says bringing the girl to his side was the right move. Then he places the crystal on top of the altar. Energy erupts and Valma stays close to witness the moment the evil god changes the world. Sometime later, in wagons near the area of the chaos, the new guild, Blackstar of Hope arrives. Momi mentions they even managed to borrow a nice carriage. Since the guild was approved, the hero says getting help from central management wasn't a problem. Aeneid adds that Blackstar of Hope is a good name, and hearing that, the hero apologizes for not asking what everyone else thought. Mona says that's not a problem at all, they'll keep following their guild leader. That lifts Alka's spirits again. But Een also reminds her she's still part of the Sword of Salvation, which makes her blush. Just then, the boy driving the carriage says he can already see their destination. Everyone tenses up because even from this far out, the Mausoleum of the Palms is pouring out a heavy evil aura. They say that without the barrier made by forbidden techniques, they could have used teleportation magic. The Ayuni which admits the inner defenses are strong, a frightened Mill suddenly yells for everyone to watch out, because a group of masked sorcerers appears. The protagonist is caught off guard, and before anyone can react, the mages cast a forbidden spell together and fire it at the front wagons, blowing them apart. The enemy struck first, and voices immediately shouted, warning the Sword of Salvation that they were under attack. So now they had to get out and help, but Ian stops the hero, pointing out there are skilled adventurers back there too. Knowing that, the boy decides it's better to leave that fight to them. So while battle breaks out behind them, the remaining wagons keep moving toward the mausoleum. Once everyone gets out, Gilly, leading the Sword of Salvation, asks if they're all okay. When the protagonist says yes, Gilly tells them to forget that trouble for now, and put all their focus on stopping the ritual and defeating Valma. With that, both guilds rush inside. As soon as they enter, the protagonist is slightly shaken by the place's atmosphere. Gilly warns him to stay alert since they won't know where the enemy will strike from. Then the old man and the protagonist draw their weapons and wait for the attack. They don't wait long. Soon, enemies appear from above, and throw knives. Alka knocks aside everything flying at him, and Gilly calls out the attack. He orders the first group to handle these enemies, while the second keeps following him. He doesn't want the protagonist to stop, because their job is to get him to Valma. The old man makes sure the hero stays focused on the path ahead. While the first group battles the sorcerer's defense line, the main force pushes toward the center of the mausoleum. Eileen tells the protagonist the forbidden summoning must already be activating. It's clear they don't have time to deal with every enemy, so the boy says they can leave him behind if needed. Alka hates that idea, but Ein tells him they'll win, so the hero chooses to trust him. In the end, the boy says each person should handle what they can. Soon, another wave of evil sorcerers appears, and this time not just ahead. Mill spots some behind them too. Will takes charge of the enemies in the rear, and with a support group, rushes in with a slash. He jokes that standing around like those sorcerers is a waste of time. Back with the protagonist's team, he says he'll take the front. Then he leaps in and drops 3 enemies in one move. Right after that, the system warns him that forbidden techniques are interfering in the area. Even so, the hero yells that it doesn't matter, his level is still high enough. He tells the old man the way is clear. With that, the front group keeps pushing ahead. But then Gilly dodges when giant arms smash through the wall beside him, and a huge beast starts forcing its way out. A cursed monster soon shows itself. Gilly notices it's smaller than the one he fought before, but the floor suddenly splits open, and more small cursed creatures crawl out to join the battle. Everyone moves to back up Gilly, but he tells the protagonist to keep going. Like he said before, they'll protect his back. At last, they reach the center of the place. Mia says she can feel a nasty magic in the air, and when the group finally stops, they can see the deepest chamber right ahead. The protagonist urges everyone forward at once, until a monster's paws slam into the floor. With that mechanical wolf tied to Merlin, guarding the final wall before Valma, the female called Blue Iron Beliat, appeared with the witch's disciple, because the evil god's manifestation was almost done, and the girl had no plan to let the adventurers interfere. The beast's roar blasts a fierce wind at Lloyd, and he thinks over the girl's name. Still, he says it doesn't matter who she is. Stopping Valma comes first. Meanwhile, Merlin stays calm even though the beast is level 450. She already heard the protagonist as level 600, which is way out of the ordinary. She admits she can't fight him head-on because she's just a technique, but says she found a way to hold him back. With another roar, a magic circle appears under them both, and a device in the beast fires a sensing beam across the whole area. Mu Xiao wonders what kind of attack it is, and Yuhi doesn't notice anything, but the protagonist suddenly feels much heavier. Seeing that, the girl turns to leave, and says the rest is up to Beliat. After all, he's the strongest of her creations, and her automaton masterpiece. The moment the monster rushes in, the protagonist blocks with both swords. Since he's 150 levels higher, he thinks there's no way he can lose. So he strikes hard, and with both blades, lands a clean double slash. But even with a cut across its chest, the beast just keeps coming, and sends him flying. Then a mechanism in its paws activates, and Beliat bursts forward at insane speed, fast enough to catch even the hero off guard. In a flash, a laser forms in the automaton's mouth beside the protagonist, and it fires straight into Lloyd's chest, blowing up the area, and shattering the pillars nearby. That leaves Yui deeply worried. Luckily, the protagonist survives because his swords take the hit for him. Still, something feels off. He's sure that last attack should have worked. With the level gap between them, this fight should have already been over. So now he has to figure out why the beast is still standing. Watching from the second floor, Merlin mocks the hero, then explains that the answer is the energy field Beliat made. As long as the boy stays inside it, his higher level gets dragged down below the beast's. On top of that, Beliat was built from the toughest metals around. If this keeps going, the protagonist will wear out first. Before finishing, the the girl reminds him that while they're stuck here, Kane is still moving forward, and that nearly drives Lloyd to despair. Even so, he remakes his weapons, and charges the beast again. Goliath is level 450, and the hero is the only one there who can face her. But if this drags on, it'll be too late. The beast attacks at full power again, and in this desperate moment, Lloyd has to find a way out. Then the witch's automaton appears at the perfect time and lands a kick that sends the monster flying. Even though it wasn't easy, Probodia asks to handle this fight herself. That leaves Merlin speechless, and the witch says the hero has something more important to do. Of course Lloyd is shocked that Probodia knocked Goliath away so easily. She tells him she pushed herself to get the power needed to fight this wolf. Still, she says he only needs to remember what she already told him. When Lloyd starts to ask what she means, he turns and sees the firm looks on his companions' faces. At that point, Yui doesn't even need to finish speaking, because the protagonist says they'll do whatever they can. Yui looks proud that he remembered those words. So he runs off to stop Valma, carrying everyone's hopes, because once again, he is their biggest hope.